This is A's Cast Live, your comprehensive look at the Oakland Athletics.
And the pitch is swung on, hit the right field, hit deep. Whitefield going back at the track, over his head, and over the wall. Do you believe that?
And 29 other MLB clubs.
Ramirez with a drive to deep right, away back, goal!
Hey, hits a bomb out there by the Rocks. And boy, oh boy, this third inning is now showtime.
It is a judgy blast. All rise. Here comes the judge.
Join us as we take you inside the baseball universe, from humidors to spin rates to game-changing moments. We have you covered. Spend your afternoon with us next from the town, only on A's Cast Live. Here's Chris Townsend.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to a World Series edition of A's Cast Live. Yeah, I said it. World Series edition. Because in a couple days, we're going to have the World Series, and we're going to be doing it at the Chicken Pie Shop of Walnut Creek. Come down and see us. You're absolutely going to love it. We're going to have a lot going on. We're going to have the guest list is unbelievable. You're going to have Glenn Kuiper. You're going to have Bip Roberts. You're going to have Shooty Babbitt. You're going to have Cody. Who else are we going to have?
Eno Saris.
Last
Dive Bar.
Jessica Kleinschmidt.
Jess will be there. Delaire, our boss, will be there.
Nobody cares.
And there's one other special guest we're waiting a confirmation on. He has some TV ties here in the Bay Area. I'll just tease it with that.
Is he a fellow San Jose State Spartan?
Correct. He is actually. I didn't see him, but he was at the Shark Tank last night when I was there.
All right. He covers the Sharks and the A's. He went to San Jose State, and he is a good friend of the program and definitely has been very good to us here on A's Cast Live. His initials are BB.
Correct, and not BBB for Better Business Bureau. It's just BB.
Just BB. So maybe BB will show up, talk some Sharks, who lost again last night.
Oh, God, they had it going in the third period. I was there.
All right. I'm going to be there on Saturday. Maybe I'll bring some luck.
Wow, you're going to – that's Sharks.
Lightning.
Lightning at 1:30 puck drop. I'm going to be at Cal, Oregon, and then I'm coming back.
Why?
My friend got me Stadium Club tickets.
Yeah, because you're coming back for the game.
Because I'm double dipping.
Game.
Double dipping. San Jose State.
We will all be there.
Sparty, a 24.5-point favorite over Reno.
Did you know that the San Jose State, I'm having to miss the San Jose, I totally double booked. The San Jose State baseball golf tournament is Friday. I was supposed to take Friday off and play in the tournament, but obviously I didn't realize it's game one of the World Series. So a bunch of my San Jose State brethren, former teammates, will be around on Friday, and then we're going to be you're going to meet a lot of these guys at the game on Saturday night.
Is Franny coming back? That's all I care about since he blew me off. I have some things to say to Franny if he's there.
Franny lives in
he's in Philly, right?
In Jersey.
Oh, Jersey. Okay.
Do we have Bryan from Last Dive Bar on the line?
Yeah, he's there. Give me 1 second. There he is.
Can I see him? See, what we need to do, the last thing we need is if people understand why I'm always looking down at because this is the only way Bryan, it's the only way I can see you.
Hey, it's a good way to see me.
Are you in your car?
Yeah, I'm in my car. It was the safest place I could go where I know nobody would disturb me at work.
I hear you. I mean,
lunch.
Hey, isn't it funny, what we have learned, and now, COVID is really in the rear view mirror, but, we're going into 2023, but how many times did we need to find a spot where it was okay for our bosses to see where we were, and to be able to have good connection so our Zoom will work on our phone. It's just funny. Before COVID, how many times did you ever do something like this in your vehicle?
Not a single time. Not a single time.
It's amazing how everything has changed. But let's be honest. What you mean to us as a sponsor of A's Cast and A's Cast Live, what you mean to the fan base, everything that you're doing for the A's Community Fund is also special. We couldn't have a party, whether it's an A's party for an A's game or a World Series party, without you. It's going to be great having you at the Chicken Pie Shop in Walnut Creek.
Man, it's going to be special. I mean, Friday nights, you know, our last dive bar, we tend to get down on Friday nights. So being able to be a part of this event and be alongside you guys and some of the greats, you know, on you know, the radio side and everything. Jessica Kleinschmidt is confirmed she's going to be there. So it's going to be a lot of fun to reconnect and also, you know, do some cool things for the fans and the people that are going to be in attendance.
So what cool things I know there's some surprises. You can't give everything away. What are some of the things you can tell us that are going to happen?
All right. So we got tons of stuff. So we're bringing sticker packs. We're bringing button packs. We're bringing tons of pins, new pins. We're bringing giveaways such as SGA bobbleheads, some custom bobbleheads. We're giving away pins. We're giving away barware that Chris Townsend will be selecting winners. And so we're going to be having barware that we're going to be giving away as well. So it's going to be tons of prizes for people.
And there's some stuff you can't talk about.
Yes, we do have an exclusive pin. I will say the pin is golden, okay, all gold, and there's only 60 made. And the only time this golden pin will be sold will be at A's Cast Live events. So this Friday is the 1st. If we sell all 60, that's it. We are no longer selling that. We'll never sell it again. We're not putting it online. And then what we'll do is we're going to have a golden series that for any A's Cast Live event, we're going to sell these only in person. So you'd have to come to the event, and that's the way you'd get this pin.
It's like when Disneyland does that limited edition, there's only so many made, and they end up become worth a lot of money. This special A's Cast Live sold only at, I should say, our event. This is going to be a special one.
Yeah, it really is. It's actually our second best selling design since the inception of, WTF Bryan and then Last Dive Bar. We basically, this is our second best selling design, only next to Dive Bar. Obviously, Stephen Vogt has made a little push to compete with that second spot.
We got the vote stuff up on the desk. We got it up.
Yeah. Yes, you do. And it looks amazing. And we actually are debuting the vote pins for the first time to fans at the event. We have obviously a package that's being sent to the Vote family. So they are getting the pins obviously first. But for the fans and any customers of Last Dive Bar, the pins will be available first at this event.
Absolutely love it. Thank you so much. Once again, everything you do for us, everything you do for the A's Community Fund, and your work is just golden because you're helping a lot of people, and we can't wait to see you Friday.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for having me on.
See you, buddy. Yeah, they got a special pin that is only going to be sold at our events, and it is awesome. You're going to love this pin. I can't tell you what it is. I know what it is, but it is it's going to be one. If you're a pen collector, or even if you're not, you just want to put one on your hat and go to the ballpark, this is going to be, I forgot to tell him that how you were worried that I put the Last Dive Bar sticker on my computer.
Oh, now you can see it. I wasn't even paying attention until you mentioned it right now.
How you were like afraid for me.
I know. I was looking out for you from.
I think you were looking out for the company.
A little bit, yeah. I'm a company man.
I mean, this computer now is how many years old?
At least 4.
I got to think when I hand this thing back, I mean, the pad is starting to give away. I got to think when I have this thing back, it doesn't go into somebody else's hands. I think once this IBM ThinkPad leaves and I turn it back into the company, I think it dies right there.
You're probably right. I mean, they'll take some parts from it and, save for refurbishing.
We don't have that kind of tech company. We're a baseball team, for God's sake.
Our IT department is second to none for with everything. I'm teaching them how to do all the streaming stuff we're doing. They're learning how all this stuff works now too. So they're learning. Top what they already know. Now they're learning our world of broadcasting.
Can we get phone calls today?
Yeah, so I switched the phone company to our sponsor, Ring Central.
Oh, there you go.
So
can we take phone calls from the audience?
Not yet.
I got an idea about that. Did you see my text about Jessica Kleinschmidt?
I did, yeah.
Do you like that idea?
Yeah, for Friday. Remember, she'll be there. 12:51 Arroyo Way. If you can't look at the banner when we have guests on. If you're listening,
on A's Cast.
1251 Arroyo Way, Walnut Creek. I don't need to give you the zip code. I mean, you can find it on Google. But yeah, we'll be there starting at 1. I like the idea with Jess being there on top of all of our great guests from NBC Sports and
just hammering social media, being on top of Twitter, Instagram. That's my idea. I've thrown it out into the universe. We'll see. I haven't checked my phone to see if the universe has not gotten back to me. So we will see. One thing as we get ready for the World Series that nobody can predict, nobody has an idea, and it sucks, and it's kind of like baseball's little mini version of the Super Bowl. You really don't know when teams have had a layoff how they're going to perform. Now, football's 2 weeks. It's a long time. And really, it's a good time for the players, having covered a couple Super Bowls, that for the actual players who are just so beat up, my God, what these guys go through is just amazing. The fact that they're done by the end of the year, their bodies are 2 weeks really gives them some time to get a little bit healthy. You're never fully healthy, but some of the really bad nicks and bruises and stuff you've been fighting in the ankle sprain, and certain tears are not going to change. If you with the shoulder problem, there's certain things you're going to need surgery for, or some major rehab after the season to get strength back, or maybe, the surgery to repair it. Those you're not going to fix. That's where you go to see the doctor. Dr. Feelgood makes you feel good for the game. Yeah, they try and act like Dr. Feelgood is on. I can tell you right now, since I don't work in it anymore, you see guys with IVs, but inside the IVs are painkillers. I mean, the stuff that these guys do in the NFL to get on the field is unbelievable. But for baseball, this is kind of like you're that 2 weeks for the Super Bowl. I mean, it's a long time. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I mean, you've heard it here with some of our guests where, you just can't sit there and fire up the old pitching machine. And even though you can crank that up into the high 90s, and you can, the fancy pincy machines that they have now, they simulate sliders and breaking balls. It's just not the same. Simulated games, just not the same. The speed of the game can't simulate it. So you leave that. What does Scott Emerson tell us all the time what pitching is, or what hitting is?
Disruption of timing.
It's rhythm and timing. Pitching is the
disruption
of timing. So I don't know. I don't know who handles it better. I mean, you saw 2 of the teams that had time off, and the Braves and the Dodgers. They got bounced. And then you saw 2 teams that they didn't get bounced. The Yankees didn't get bounced, neither did the Astros. So,
Astros haven't lost yet.
Yeah, I mean, by the way, who's the last team to beat the Astros?
That'd be your Phillies, back in the end of the regular season. A game started by Game 1 probable starter, Aaron Nola.
I saw that the other day, that the last team to beat him was the Phillies. I'm like, wow, if that doesn't kind of set up, means absolutely nothing, but it sounds good for our basically our preview into the World Series. But how they handle it, I mean, I don't know. I don't know who this favors. Obviously, the Astros are a heavy favorite in this one, but in no way is anyone going to be surprised if this ultimate it factor team. I've been talking about this for a while, calling them like the Summer Ball All-Star team, that finally they've come together and they believe, and they're unbeatable. I mean, if they get one game in Houston and they get it back to the bank and temperature drops, places rocking, who knows? I'm hoping for a really good World Series. The only scenario I don't see is the Astros getting blown out in 4 or 5 games. That's the only scenario I don't see. That doesn't happen. Astros don't go out like chumps. They just don't. They don't go out like Dodgers. How about that?
Or Yankees? At least the Dodgers won a game.
This is the first time the Yankees have gone out like chumps, though. And that's why I always go back to the Atlanta Braves and their run. Was it 14 straight?
14 straight, yes.
When they lost to good teams and good performances. They didn't go out like chumps. I mean, if we went back and really looked at the Braves teams and who they played and when they lost, multiple trips to the World Series. Hey, listen, you got the Astros. They've been to multiple World Series. When they lose, they don't go out like chumps. So I don't see them going out. Could it happen? Hell, anything can happen at sports. But that's the one scenario I don't see. I can totally see the Phillies winning this thing. And I got the whole matchup of position by position. I don't agree with it. I don't like the way it's done. I think it's too easy to go, here's your second baseman, here's this second baseman. Obviously, this guy's had a better career than this guy, so they have the advantage here. I don't think that's the way to do it at all. When you're truly looking at where we are in the moment and how are we looking at this thing. But I do like the 5 things we have learned from the 2022 postseason. And friend of the program, Anthony Castrovintz, has done this list. And there's 2 things on here to me that really, really matter. The other things are, okay. First of all, number 5. The Astros are a force of nature. We all know that. We all know they're good. The national media, for some reason, every single year starts to figure it out. But if you play in the same division with the Houston Astros, you find out year after year, yeah, these guys are pretty special. And when you say these guys, it's not the guys that won the World Series the last time. It's an organization that has been so impressive that they just keep remaking themselves. And they lose players, right? They lose Springer. They lose Correa. They lose Garrett Cole. It just goes on and on and on. Got Charlie Morton. Who else? They've lost a ton of dudes. Josh Reddick. But I mean,
if you just look at how they did a whole thing when the postseason started, how these teams are built. 9 of the Astros players were acquired via trade, 7 international guys, and then 8 drafted guys is how their team was built. I mean, 4 of their 6 starting pitchers are international signings. Just Verlander and McCullers are not. Their infield, Altuve obviously is an international signing, but McCormick, Jake Myers, these are all draft picks for them. Jeremy Pena was a 3rd rounder. They do. I mean, everyone talks about the Dodgers and their research and development.
Where are they?
They're right here on the far left.
And what are the? Because Jordan is a trade.
Jordan was a trade. Yeah, they've only acquired 2 free agents currently on their team. I believe it's.
Who are the 2 free agents?
Michael Brantley was one. Brantley's a free agent.
Oh my God, that was a long.
And
time
I think
ago.
he's
not even playing.
And I think
so he shouldn't count. He hasn't played.
Yeah, I think that the other one might be a reliever because they traded for Will Smith. He's not even on the roster. They drafted Kyle Tucker. They traded for Montero. They signed Stanek was a free agent signing. So Stanek and Brantley are the 2 guys.
But Brantley's not playing, so he can't count.
Oh, I can look it up if it's not.
Brantley doesn't count. He hasn't played. So he's not. Are they calling this a playoff rosters?
I think it was just how the teams are built, like the 2022 playoff teams.
They're trying to make themselves look smarter. But you can't count Brantley. He hasn't played.
Yeah, a lot of their guys were, Verlander traded for.
You talk about Verlander's the ultimate last-minute trade.
Mancini traded for. Vasquez, their backup catcher, traded for. They traded for Maldonado in 2019. He's been there forever. And then a lot of guys they drafted. Oh, Gurriel, but he was an international free agent.
I saw this. And where did I see this? Oh, when I get into position by position. By the way, I want to give Gurriel some praise. I did not realize he's 38 years old.
Yeah, he's
38.
Hector Neris. So Neris and Stanek would be the 2 free agents if you're not counting Brantley.
We're not counting you.
Those.
Didn't they say it was 2?
Yeah, it was
you can't
those 2
count
guys.
Brantley.
Remember, they traded for Ryan Presley from the Twins years ago.
I'm sorry, I have to fact check. I had to fact check you. Gurriel's 38 years old. I saw that and I was like, good on you. He's 38 and still balling. That's impressive. I mean, you got Verlander 39, still doing what he's doing, probably going to win the Cy Young Award for a 3rd time.
Maldonado is a great defensive catcher.
How old is he?
He's in his high 30s.
Good for these guys.
And I want to say, was it last year? I think it might have been last year that Gurriel won the AL batting title. It was
2 years ago.
It was last year. It was last year. He had 319. He won the AL batting title at age 37.
319. All right, so
and Maldonado's 36.
Hey, as a catcher at 36, at a baby. All right, so the Astros are a force of nature. That's number 5. Thanks for bringing that up. Number 4, the Yankees have serious work to do. Oh my God, the panic about the Yankees right now on Twitter is so good.
Sorry. Clock back in for my lunch break.
Do you see? It's like his little world that we're all living in.
Well, I have to do it. It's mandated.
You can put it on buzzer.
Oh, well, I usually turn it off before it happens anymore.
So the Yankees are in full-on panic mode. Everybody doesn't want Brian Cashman back. Everybody doesn't want Aaron Boone back. Everybody has basically, it's going to make it easy for the Yankees to lose Aaron Judge because everybody has already said, he's leaving. Even like the most diehard Yankee fans are now resigned to the fact that he's leaving. So when he does leave, it's not going to be this major heartbreak, which I'll believe it when I see it. When he leaves the Yankees, then it'll be something to really analyze. But until he takes a contract offer for someone else, I still have a hard time believing you don't envision yourself having a monument out there with Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig. I'm just saying. I have a hard time believing that you are so emotionally hurt and you are such a butterfly that you rather not be on the biggest stage in our game and someday have a monument that's where Derek Jeter is, Babe Ruth, Mickey Mantle, Joe DiMaggio, Reggie Jackson. Hall of Famers, greatness, the greatest players to have ever played, Yankees. To do that, to go play for the Giants? The Giants.
So everyone keeps saying the Giants.
The Giants. You're going to leave that because you want to be on the same wall of fame with Robbie Thompson?
Joe Panic.
Will Clark? Hunter Pence? Oh, that's what you want? You want to be on some wall out by some cove? I'm about to call it a stupid cove. McCovey Cove's not stupid, but I'll call it a stupid cove. That you want to be in a stupid cove with Hunter Pence?
Debate can already start. Is if Aaron Judge signs there, is he the greatest right fielder in Giants history?
Who's he compared to? I don't even know.
Pence.
No. Julio Cruz's kid.
Jose
Cruz.
Yeah.
Mary dropped that ball.
Yes. There's been a lot of guys.
Seriously, Glenn Allen Hill, who, by the way, is a great guy. I loved Glenn Allen Hill.
I think their streak still lives.
One of the last guys, maybe Glenn. You want a little Glenn Allen Hill fact?
Is he a local guy?
Santa Cruz.
Okay, I knew he's somewhere from around here.
You want a little Glenn Allen Hill fact for me?
Yeah.
That I can tell you. He's the last guy I ever saw smoking in the clubhouse.
Cigarettes?
Yeah.
How long ago was that?
Years ago.
Because I don't know.
Can't put it this way, Candlestick Park.
Oh yeah, so he was a
Met. You remember I have that I'm not going to say famous, but for me, it was a big deal the first time I interviewed Ricky Henderson. Like I got the courage, and I'm like, I'm going to interview him. And Ricky was so cool. I was so happy. I was so worried he was going to big league me. Because just great players, but Ricky was great. And as we're doing the interview, Glenn Allen Hill basically listening to the interview, because this locker was right next to a Ricky's, lit up a cigarette, and just sat there and listened to the interview. It was like bobbing his head as Ricky was talking. That's the last time I saw a player smoke a cigarette in the clubhouse.
I still want to believe that the last guy to smoke was smoking Jim Leland.
I would not bet again. The last guy to smoke in the dugout has to be Jim Leland. We're not going to have time for this, but I have two more. Number one on this list is something we've talked about. Bryce Harper is now paving that path to Cooperstown.
For sure.
You do the MVP, you have the numbers, you have an October that everybody remembers. Probably won't be the last October he is going to have. Special player, was on the cover of Sports Illustrated in high school, been the chosen one. He's like the baseball version of LeBron James. Will never be as big as LeBron. I would not make that dumb comparison, but it's similar, right? LeBron was on Sports Illustrated, the cover in high school. Same thing for Harper. I think there's some similarities there. Both guys have, LeBron James has been nothing but a fabulous representative of the league, of the sport, of himself, of his brand. Now, Bryce Harper, once again, is never going to be that big. You're not going to be LeBron James. But, I mean, LeBron James, the biggest guy we've seen since Michael Jordan.
Yeah. I just watched the Redeem Team doc on him.
I just watched a Ruffles commercial, and he's got a bag of Ruffles after him.
He's on the AT&T commercials now, too, I believe.
I mean, he's on everything. He's racing Father Time, and he's
LeBron. Those commercials are pretty funny.
He's LeBron James. But LeBron James has done nothing but be, athletes get into athletes, entertainers, rock stars, actors, actresses. They can do some dumb stuff because they think they're above it. LeBron James has been nothing but chalk, man. He's been incredible. What he does, sending kids to college, is big on kids and education. You may not agree with the China stuff. I get that. But for the most part, LeBron James has been as good as it gets. Bryce Harper's been that way too. Bryce Harper's never been in trouble. Bryce Harper, I mean, he just chose, I didn't want to play in Washington anymore. And it's starting to, after Juan Soto did it, you start to realize,
maybe it isn't that great to play there.
No. So Bryce Harper, but no, this list of the 5 things we learned from the 22 postseason, number 2 and 3 to me are like major music to my ears. But coming up next, Joon Lee from ESPN. We've had him on before, right?
Correct. We have. I think it was last postseason.
Okay. From ESPN will join us next, and then we'll get back to the last two, because I think these two, the 2 things we're learning in this postseason is something everybody's going to like. But we're talking to Joon Lee. I want to say he's out of Boston.
Correct, but he was covering Yankees Astros. So we can talk to him about the Yankees, the Astros, the World Series.
Supposedly the Yankees got swept, and everybody in the clubhouse after was like, cool. Years past, guys were crying, and oh my God, this is the worst thing ever. These guys are like, see you at spring training.
Yeah. We'll
talk about it next right here on A's Cast Live.
Just because the season is over for the green and gold doesn't mean you can't enjoy watching the World Series with us. Don't miss out on partying at the Chicken Pie Shop, 1251 Arroyo Way in Walnut Creek, Friday, October 28th for an A's Cast World Series watch party with Chris Townsend, Eno Saris, Glenn Kuiper, Bip Roberts, Shooty Babbitt, Last Dive Bar, and more. The show starts at 1 p.m. with live guests throughout until 5 p.m. That's the Chicken Pie Shop, 1251 Arroyo Way in Walnut Creek. That's 1251 Arroyo Way in Walnut Creek.
The Eno Saris Show is sponsored by Fieldwork Brewing Company. With 8 taproom locations in Northern California, Fieldwork brings you fresh craft beer direct from the source. Fieldwork will also ship beer direct to your door if you live in California. Visit fieldworkbrewing.com.
The Coliseum has gone by many names, but none better than the Last Dive Bar. Hi, everyone. Ken Korak here, and my friends at Last Dive Bar are helping us celebrate our longtime home. Last Dive Bar has the most unique merchandise for all Oakland baseball fans. T-shirts, sweatshirts, the Ray Fosse line, and my personal favorite, the lights have taken full effect. Visit their website at lastdivebar.com or follow them on social media at Last Dive Bar. All proceeds are invested back into the A's Community Fund and their affiliated charities. Go to lastdivebar.com. That's lastdivebar.com.
The general manager of the Green and Gold, David Force, stopped by A's Cast Live and discussed the growth of Seth Brown in 2022.
From where he came a couple of years ago, and I remember having conversations about whether we thought he might end up going to Asia to play and not get a chance to establish himself here. He really took a step forward on the field. You saw it in the power, you saw it in his versatility, playing first base and outfield. And then, we really saw it in the clubhouse. I think if you ask Kotz right now, the guys coming back, who are the guys that set the tone in there? And that's not always the most vocal guy or sort of the most rah-rah, but the guys who work hard, who can sort of silently lead other guys. Seth has to be at the top of that list. And I don't think anybody would have said that a year or two ago. So it's been fun to watch where he got to at the end of the season.
To listen to the full interview and much more, go to athletics.com/A'sCast.
This is Chris Townsend for the Chicken Pie Shop of Walnut Creek. Great news! Our indoor dining is back, along with our beautiful patio dining. Come taste our world-famous chicken pie that has been served in Southern California for 83 years. The Chicken Pie Shop of Walnut Creek has one of the most dynamic menus, plus a full bar. Pot pies, gourmet burgers, sandwiches, salads, flatbreads, and more. Don't forget, we still do takeout and delivery. For all the information, go to chickenpieshopwc.com. That's chickenpieshopwc.com.
The Oakland Athletics begin spring training on February 25th. Now's the time to make plans to catch us in Mesa, Arizona, and enjoy the sunshine with your family and friends. Buy your tickets early for the best seats at the lowest prices as your Green and Gold take on the Giants, Dodgers, Padres, Angels, and more at Hohokam Stadium.
And Tony, it's a deep drive to right in the corner. Gritchick going back. He'll turn and watch it fly.
Get your tickets at athletics.com/spring. That's athletics.com/spring.
Humanity has accomplished a whole lot so far. We created penicillin, the automobile, and the internet, not to mention drones, duct tape, and the hot dog. It's all thanks to the power of human connections. And Ring Central's here to make that even easier, more seamlessly and securely, on a platform built to grow your business. Say hello to a whole new way to say hello. Visit ringcentral.com and say hello to possibilities. Ring Central. Message, video, phone, together.
Some things just go together. Peanut butter and jelly, cookies and milk, Oakland and Kaiser Permanente. If that last one caught you off guard, it shouldn't, because Kaiser Permanente has been helping keep Oakland healthy since our very beginning. And as the official healthcare partner of the Oakland A's, that won't be changing anytime soon. Whatever you may need, you can trust Kaiser Permanente to help keep you feeling your best. Kaiser Permanente. Thrive. Visit kp.org today.
A's Cast Live continues from the town. Here's Chris Townsend.
We have Joon in the waiting room. There he is. How you been? Good to see you again.
How's it going?
We're doing well. We were just talking about the reaction that we're reading about Yankees-Astros for the Yankees after the World Series in the clubhouse. Far different what we're hearing than losses in the past. Of course, you covered that series. What was it like? Yankees getting swept at Yankee Stadium.
Well, I think I want to take a step back before we talk about the clubhouse during the last couple of days with the Astros, where it was a pretty unusual season in terms of just the vibe around the team. I think it started off on a weird note to begin with the way that Brian Cashman came out and spoke out about the contract offer that he gave Aaron Judge. I thought that set a pretty weird tone for the year and just kind of creating an antagonistic relationship between the players and the front office. And then over the course of the season, as Aaron Judge had this amazing historic season, a lot of the focus really just kind of centered on him. And it almost turned the rest of that clubhouse, the guys in there, into fans. And everyone was there at the games almost to watch Aaron Judge try to go for that 61st homer initially and the 62nd homer. Everything was kind of centered around him. So by the time the playoffs came around, it almost felt like the peak of the season in terms of the energy had already passed, because everyone was so on edge for those Judge at bats for about 2 weeks there, where it felt like that's what everyone kind of wanted to take away from the season. I have a story coming out at some point, I think around the time the MVP announcement is going to happen sometime in November, or an oral history about Aaron Judge's season. I talked to a lot of these guys during the moment of when all of this stuff was happening. And they were talking about how, they imagined this kind of being what it was like to be in 61, the Roger Maris, Mickey Mantle movie. And it really seemed like so much of the team's emotional energy almost went towards that home run chase, that by the time that the playoffs came around, and by the time that they had to play the Astros, 2 games in Houston, then losing that game 3, I think really took the wind out of their sails. And by game 4, I mean, when you're as desperate enough to go towards the Boston Red Sox as a source of inspiration, I think it kind of sums up where they are, where, there's just a sense of trying to go towards one of the franchise's worst moments to look for inspiration, even if it is a similar situation. Like, as a Red Sox fan myself, I thought that it was really funny, but if you look at the optics for a second, like, it's one of those things where it's like, this is where you're going for inspiration in this moment.
Oh my God. God, who did, you sent me the piece, Cody, who was complaining about it on their show? Oh, Michael K. And Michael K was just like, are you tone deaf? And I was thinking about, like, do you think Alabama would use Auburn tape or Ohio State, Michigan, or do you think the Indianapolis Colts would use New England Patriot tape? Like, you start thinking about these rivalries in sports, like right now, the Golden State Warriors, if you said the Lakers, I mean, it's crazy that they went to their arch rival. Like, after, as you said, you're in Boston. After, as a Red Sox fan, you had to absolutely love that, by the way. That'd be like, that probably made even your guys' bad year in Boston, made it a good year. But just what do you think about that? That the Yankees, the historic Yankees, 27 world titles, are actually going back to one of the worst moments in their own history against their rival to get inspiration.
I do think that there is a way to justify it if you are a player on the Yankees and you're not thinking about the outside world and how the outside world perceive this. If you're just thinking about, as a baseball team in a vacuum, this is a team that did it in the past. They had the certain mindset, and then you did it. The thing that really confused me about the entire situation was that Aaron Boone volunteered this information to the media. This was something that they could have easily have kept in-house and just been like, all right, this might not look good to the public, but, from a mental mindset reset position, hey, maybe this is a good place to try to get here, but also having to be cognizant of the fact that you're the New York Yankees, and if this gets out in the public, it's going to look really, really bad. And the fact that Aaron Boone volunteered this information versus it coming out somehow through, one of my colleagues or myself finding out through the players, through reporting, through anonymous sourcing that this had happened, it's different than the manager volunteering this information, because I think it just kind of showed a lack of thinking in regards to how this would land with fans, because in just the general conversation around all of this, it comes across looking really bad, even if you can kind of understand it from a vacuum standpoint, why they would do this in terms of trying to set their mindset in the right place, being down 3-0.
When you talk about the timeline with Aaron Judge, it also makes me think about the timeline of the team. And I think about the Dodgers, and as the Dodgers got later in the season, we started really getting into how many games are they going to win, the run differential and everything. That was later in the season. I went back and looked at notes from when we took on the Yankees in late June, and I got the notes every day from MLB Network. And the notes for this series of Yankees-A's at Yankee Stadium, Yankees were on pace for 119 wins. Yankees were about to hit the most home runs ever in June. It was like crowning the Yankees the champions in late June, early July. And there was like all these comparisons to these historic Yankees teams that had won the World Series before. I totally understand when you say peaking early. I think they peaked real early, like before the All-Star break, because I know when we were back there playing against them, everybody was ready to size them up for rings and saying it was a done deal.
Yeah, I think it's a really great lesson in not crowning champions too early, not crowning anything too early, because 162 games is a really, really long season. And from the guys that I talked to, I wrote a story back in August when the Yankees were really slumping and their division lead was collapsing. And Clay Holmes talked about the fact that they felt like they had lost their sense of urgency because they went into the All-Star break with such an enormous lead. And so they kind of felt like they had this cushion. And I think they kind of took the foot off the gas pedal a little bit. And then they completely fell off in August, where Aaron Judge is completely carrying that offense through his massive home run hot streak. And the rest of the team isn't really doing anything. And so I think it's a really great lesson. And, I remember people were talking about, and myself included in all of this, where the Yankees were crowned the division champs. Like, oh, there's no way the Yankees could possibly lose the division. They got kind of close there for a couple of weeks, where the Blue Jays and even the Orioles and the Rays, they were kind of close and catching on their tail. And so it's one of those things where, I think back to, the Red Sox collapse from 2012 when they lost the division that year right before Bob Valentine came in. They lost that entire division in the month of September. It's easy to just right in the chalk and say, of course the Yankees are going to be great in October. But as we've seen in this postseason, just because you have a great regular season record doesn't mean you're going to get far in the postseason, because it's a whole new animal, and it's about who gets hot at the right time on top of who's kind of able to stay consistent over the longest period of time over the course of the year. I think we're seeing that right now with the Philadelphia Phillies, who have gotten hot in October, and the Houston Astros, who have been the most consistent team from April through October so far.
All right, one more on the Yankees before I ask you one for the Red Sox. I know you only have so much time. All right, for the Yankees, a lot of questions happen right after the season, but there needs to be some time to reflect. Hal Steinbrenner's got to sit back and say, okay, how do we want to go forward? So I'll ask you, you were there. How do you think the Yankees look when they head to Florida for spring training? Brian Cashman's still there? Aaron Boone's still there? Aaron Judge there, or are we now looking at a rebuilding, retooling, whatever you want to call it, New York Yankees club?
I think that unless there's some sort of enormous fan backlash that I think changes the PR of this significantly over the course of the next few weeks, I personally expect Brian Cashman and Aaron Boone to be back. That's not based on any sort of internal sourcing. This is just kind of based on the way that the Yankees have operated this year, what they've talked about in regards to their happiness with Aaron Boone. I mean, they just signed him to an extension a little under a year ago. And so this is something that they've been really happy with. They're very happy with the way that Aaron Boone deals with the media. And I think one of the interesting dynamics in all of this too is that, Andy Martino of SNY had a report today talking about how the Yankees clubhouse felt like it was kind of hard to be a Yankee this year because of how toxic some of the things around the team had gone this year. You can kind of look back at the way that the fans and Isaiah kind of Falefa and his family got into it over the course of the middle of the season. Just generally the negative publicity that comes with being a struggling Yankee team, especially in the middle of August this season. It was not the easiest year to be a New York Yankee. And of course, these are kind of champagne problems and you can play your tiny violin, but it's one of those things where this has a tangible effect on the mental health of a lot of these guys. And so, Aaron Boone being this positive figure, being this kind of eternal optimist, it does play a positive role for a lot of these guys in this locker room. I mean, when the team was struggling in August, they were talking about how they could lean on Aaron Boone and also Aaron Judge as two guys who are just kind of eternally optimistic, not in a toxic positivity kind of way, but in kind of a grounded way that they could lean on to feel like they could actually get through these struggles. Unless the PR of all this really changes a lot, the players loved playing for Aaron Boone. There were some times where there was, tension between decisions. I think we saw that in the Cleveland series a little bit when there was confusion between him and Clay Holmes. But overall, the players have had a pretty positive experience playing for Aaron Boone. And so I expect, as of right now, for both of them to be with the Yankees starting when spring training kicks off. Now with Aaron Judge, it's going to be really interesting to see how all of that develops too over the course of free agency as well.
Hey, champagne problems. There's a lot of rappers and Lance McCullers Jr. that will tell you can have some champagne problems. Let's go over to the Boston Red Sox, a team you also cover. You live in Boston. We have joked since Chaim Bloom has come over that they're the Boston Rays. Are the Red Sox going to go back to being the Red Sox? Most expensive tickets, make a ton of money, buy. Everything's about winning. Or are they still going to run kind of like the Rays with money? Where's Chaim Bloom taking this franchise?
So to clarify, I'm from Boston, but I live in New York now. So I live in enemy territory.
You live in Boston, right?
I did used to live in Boston. Yeah. I mean, I grew up in Boston. But with Chaim Bloom and the Red Sox specifically, there has been internal frustration, which I reported on earlier in the season, between the way that Bloom has made decisions in terms of kind of the hesitancy that he's had to spend a lot of money. It's been kind of a contrast to the way that Dave Dombrowski has previously spent money as the head of baseball operations for the Red Sox. I think that there is enough internal pressure now, and also fan pressure, given everything that happened with the Red Sox this year, and also the kind of public way that everything that's happened with the contract negotiations with Xander Bogaerts has played out. And so I expect the Red Sox to be making a big push to try to sign third baseman Rafael Devers to an extension this year. I think if he is in a position where he has to leave, the fan base is going to, revolt and try to burn down Jersey Street. Will be interesting to see how they approach the negotiations with Xander Bogaerts, because there are so many free agent shortstops on the market. And I could see a situation where they look at Xander's price tag, maybe potentially feel that he's not going to be a shortstop long-term, even if he is a nominee for the Gold Glove this year, and go with someone else, maybe a Trey Turner, maybe a Dansby Swanson, for maybe a slightly cheaper value than maybe Xander would get on the open market, especially given the fact that Scott Boras is his agent. But I do think that there is a crucial pivot point for the Boston Red Sox this offseason, because I think Chaim Bloom is going to be in a high pressure packed position to get the Red Sox back in the playoffs, and not only do that, but make a deep playoff run, because this will be year 4 of his tenure in Boston. And yes, they got to the ALCS last year, but this is a town where what have you done for me lately is something that's enormous. Dave Dombrowski won a World Series 1 year and then got fired the next. And so what Chaim Bloom does this offseason, I think, is going to be enormous. I think there's going to be a lot of pressure on him to spend a lot of money, especially with guys like Nathan Eovaldi, JD Martinez, a lot of money coming off the books. Boston's going to have a lot of free money to spend on the free agent market, and also just has more trade capital with the prospects and their farm system, which has gotten a lot stronger over the course of the last couple of years, to potentially dip into the trade market as well.
Will you be in San Diego for the winter meetings?
We'll see. I'm not quite sure yet.
Well, if you are, we'd love to have you on the program. We'll be there.
Oh, I appreciate the invite.
Yeah, great stuff as always. We always appreciate the time. You're fantastic.
Thanks for having me on.
Take care.
Have a good one.
Joon Lee from ESPN. I thought he lived in Boston. I realized he's now in New York. But, yeah, covering the Northeast. You heard that. Dave Dombrowski, my guy, wins a championship, gets fired the next year. Chaim Bloom is in year, what did he say, 4?
It's going into year 4.
Or is this year 5? He's been there 4.
I think this is going into year 4, because he got fired in 2019, so 2021. Yeah, this would be year 4.
You know, COVID was 2020. We're going into 2023.
I know, it's crazy. It's been 3 years already almost.
Isn't that funny, all the stuff that comes out now about COVID?
Yeah, the Red Sox, they got to figure something. I think Devers maybe stays, but Bogaerts, he has an opt-out, right? So if he opts out, or if they don't want to re-sign him, I mean, June's right. They're going to burn down Jersey Street if they lose one of those guys. I mean, Martinez and
they're not going to get mad about the Patriots. You see Monday Night Football?
Belichick came out today. Mac Jones is a starter this week. So if anyone's worried about,
did you watch Monday Night Football?
I watched a little bit of it. You mean the Bears just smoking the Patriots?
The better way to put it, if you watch the game, was the Bears just said, "We're going to impose our will on you."
Yeah, I only saw, like I said, I only watched.
At what point the Bears put in 3 tight ends on the left side and said, "We're going to run all over you. We're running right here, right now, and there's nothing you can do about it." And let me tell you something. It's the most demoralizing thing on a football field when you basically say, "This is what we're going to do, and we're going to keep doing it, and you can't stop us, the game's over. You literally break the other team's will. That's bottom line. The will was basically snapped out of the New England Patriots on Monday Night Football. And there's Bill Belichick, there was nothing he could do about it. And then I sent you there's a great, would it be a meme on Twitter where Belichick looks homeless?
Oh, yeah.
And they say this guy's looking for $1, and it shows his record without Tom Brady. He's like, because remember, he was the head coach of the Cleveland Browns. They had success. Nick Saban was his defensive coordinator. They made the playoffs 1 year at least. But without Tom Brady as a head coach, he's like 42 and 50 something.
Yeah, I'm going to go back. Remember, as you mentioned before, there's a lot of text between us. Was this before you sent it to me? So yeah, 74 and 82. I don't know if that includes the Monday night loss.
Oh, he's 74 and he's no.
That's what the tweet says. 74 and 82.
He's coached over that many games without Tom Brady as a head coach.
Let's look it up. That's what the power of the internet's for.
There's no way. They only play.
If you type in his name, first image that pops up is that one.
Yeah. His hoodie's got holes in it. There's only 16 games in a season. What'd you say he was? 72 and what?
I think it was 74 and 82. Hold on, I'm looking right now. Yeah, I mean, he coached 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years without him. So
that's 156 games.
Yeah, well, remember Brady was hurt for the 1 year.
There was the Drew Bledsoe. What year was that?
2001, where Bledsoe got the lost job.
I'm not sure about. But I do say we believe everything on Twitter and the internet. I think we might be 156 games he's coached without Tom Brady. You know how many seasons that is?
Let me just look this up.
That's almost 10 seasons.
I know, but I'm just trying to 5 plus. He had 41 wins before Brady took over in 2001.
He's got a long way to go to get to this number of games.
Yeah, and I'm going to app his losses real quick. 9.
And by the way, you said how many? 40? You need another 30.
I know. He's 41 and 44 without before he took over with Brady.
You're pretty short.
Yeah, you're way out. Yeah, still about 30 wins away.
And then now you got to come up with over 40 losses.
Well, remember, he won 11 games with Matt Castle that 1 year.
Okay.
He won how many games?
55. Keep going.
He won 10 last year.
56.
10 last 66, and he's won 3 this year.
All right.
That's 69.
Now you got to come up with all the losses.
Yeah. We're getting close to the wins.
All right. But yeah, to watch a team.
Oh, they're right there, and he had 2020 without Brady too. So there's a 7. Yeah, there's the wins right there.
So you think the losses add up too?
I think so. I'd have to actually go through and look. But the wins we got there.
Without Tom Brady, that record's not so special, is it?
No, it's not. I'll still take him as my coach.
Oh, you would?
Yeah, I think he's had a nice little career.
You think? Oh, you'd take him?
I mean, do you know who his offensive coordinators are?
But wait a minute, without Tom Brady, he's well under 500. Would you really take him as your coach?
I probably still would. I didn't say head coach. I just said coach. Could be defensive coordinator.
He won 2 Super Bowls as defensive coordinator with the New York Giants and had one of the greatest defense of all time. Yeah. And he had the greatest defensive. His stories on Lawrence Taylor. Go to YouTube, put in Bill Belichick, Lawrence Taylor. Bill Belichick has the greatest just talking points about Lawrence Taylor that will let you know. And if you don't know, Lawrence Taylor is the greatest football player of all time. It's not close. Don't give me Jerry Rice. As much as I love Jerry Rice, did a show with Jerry Rice. It's not Jerry Rice. It's not Brady. It's not Montana. The greatest football player of all time is Lawrence Taylor, and it's not even close. Put it this way. If you put every single guy who has a gold jacket in the Pro Football Hall of Fame in a room, and you said, all right, out of all these guys, who's the baddest man in this room?
Oh, it's Lawrence Taylor.
It's Lawrence Taylor. It's not even.
What I was trying to bring up real quick before we go back to baseball. The Patriots right now, their offensive coordinators, they have 2, is Matt Patricia, the former D coordinator and head coach of the Lions, and Joe Judge, a special teams coach his entire career pretty much, and a defensive guy, and former head coach of the Giants, running the offense for the Patriots.
Whoa. What? Special teams is a huge part of the game. Why are you throwing that under the bus?
You got offense, defense, but Lo always told me special teams is a third of the game.
It is. Why are you throwing it under the bus?
I'm just saying he has no offensive acumen to be an offensive coordinator.
I don't know. The guy's called a lot of plays in Baltimore before. He was just a special teams coach. Harbaugh.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
Yeah, he's done all right in his career. All he'd ever done is special teams.
But he does have a good offensive coordinator, though.
He's had a bazillion different offensive coordinators.
Greg Roman's been there for a while now. The guy everyone hated in San Francisco. Everyone wanted to run out when Harbaugh was gone.
He got him into the Super Bowl.
Yeah. By the way, people were very excited when Harbaugh was at Levi's on Sunday.
They should be. Harbaugh's great.
They said he got the second biggest ovation behind only Joe Montana. As soon as his face appeared on the big screen, everyone's went crazy. Didn't even say his name.
Harbaugh turned Stanford around. Harbaugh turned
San Diego.
The University of San Diego Toreros. If you've ever been to San Diego, I guarantee you, if I laid out a map and I said, "You've been to San Diego? You've been to San Diego.
Yeah.
Can you tell me where USD is?"
I've been there, but I couldn't tell you where it is.
USD is so little tiny up on the hill. University of San Diego used to share the campus with Uni, which was the Catholic high school, which they've now moved and changed their name. They used to share the campus with a high school. Harbaugh went there. They only have half a stadium. The other half is trees and stuff. They have half a stadium. Harbaugh turned them into a power. Then goes to Stanford, where Walt Harris and who was the guy from Florida? God, what was his name? Walt Harris. And
I remember Walt Harris because he coached the Pitt.
Walt Harris and what was his name? Damn it.
Hold on.
As soon as you say it, he's the guy that was at Florida.
Buddy Tevens?
Buddy Tevens.
I forgot Ty Willingham was there, too. Then he went to Notre Dame.
But Ty Willingham got to Rose Bowl. Ty Willingham, who's a member of my golf course, Center Bar Hills. I played golf with Ty Willingham. Coach Willingham is a phenomenal human being. Buddy Tevens, Walt Harris drove the program into the – and next thing you know, Harbaugh turns him into – back when we had BCS games. Harbaugh's playing in BCS. He's playing in the Orange Bowl, the Fiesta Bowl. He's Jim Harbaugh. He took the Niners, who stunk, to the Super Bowl, 3 straight NFC title games, and now he's got Michigan back being a power. Don't you doubt the greatness of Jim Harbaugh, who, by the way, is an A's fan.
He also did beat Ohio State last year, too.
Do you know he's an A's fan?
Yeah, I do. Good friends with Bob Melvin.
Very good friends with Bob Melvin.
I by the way, I watched Bob speak yesterday with AJ
But
Preller.
Jim Harbaugh grew up. You got to remember, when Melvin and Harbaugh and those guys were growing up in the Bay Area, was when the A's were winning 3 straight World Series.
Jim Harbaugh, Palo Alto High.
Jim Harbaugh played baseball and was a really good player. Probably could have played college baseball. Probably would have got drafted, but he was a big deal on.
That's right there, too. Sorry. I was going to read you the quote. Hal Steinbrenner says he doesn't see a change there when it comes to Aaron Boone for 2020.
You interrupt my Jim Harbaugh and love for Jim Harbaugh for some hack like Hal Steinbrenner?
I'm trying to get back on the rails, as
No. I tell you right now, talking Harbaugh will get us more people watching than it will Hal Steinbrenner and the Yankees. Remember, Jim Harbaugh grew up a bona fide A's fan. We love you, Harbs. I root for Michigan. I think it's a mistake. I see these teams.
So on Booney?
I think Dave Roberts is a mistake. I think Aaron Boone's a mistake. You've run your course with these guys. I mean, what's going to be different? What's going to change? You've been burying my prediction that the Yankees wouldn't make the. I remember that.
I have it still. I just have to.
You've been burying it. You don't want to play it because you know I was right.
Yeah. We did this last year too, and we played the Brewers thing. He said the Brewer. He said something about the Brewers.
Oh, you had no problem finding that.
I still have the Yankees thing. It's on my
play it.
I don't have it with me right now. It's on my hard drive.
I predicted in June.
Yeah, I have it.
Late June, Yankees will not make the World Series when everybody was crowning them. Going, their game doesn't translate, and they don't have the it factor. They just hit home runs and walk, and everybody goes, oh, they hit 55 home runs in June or whatever it was. Oh, they're so great. I'm not buying it. Not buying it, and they got swept. You know what? I may not be right a lot, but I was right on this one.
I'll find it during either our interview with Larry
It'd be
Bowa.
nice if you went, you know what? That's right, Chris. You had the foresight. You saw this. You went on record.
Yeah, I'm not denying it.
I wish you could also give me credit.
I give you credit for saying
Instead
this.
of burying it last year when I said the Brewers were
garbage or whatever you said. I have it. I got rid of it, but
oh yeah, you played it all the time.
Yeah, well, I mean, I had it.
Yeah.
I have it's on my hard drive.
When it doesn't fit your narrative, you seem to can't find. It's on a different hard drive.
What's in my bag? I think my hard drive's in there.
All right, okay. Coming up next, one of the great shortstops of his time, Larry Bowa, will join us right here on A's Cast Live.
Just because the season is over for the green and gold doesn't mean you can't enjoy watching the World Series with us. Don't miss out on partying at the Chicken Pie Shop, 1251 Arroyo Way in Walnut Creek, Friday, October 28th for an A's Cast World Series watch party with Chris Townsend, Eno Saris, Glenn Kuiper, Biff Roberts, Shooty Babbitt, Last Dive Bar, and more. The show starts at 1 p.m. with live guests throughout until 5 p.m. That's the Chicken Pie Shop, 1251 Arroyo Way in Walnut Creek. That's 1251 Arroyo Way in Walnut Creek.
Oakland Athletics spring training is right around the corner, and you can be part of the excitement. Get your tickets now and plan ahead for a fun-filled trip to Mesa, Arizona this spring. Pack the sunscreen, bring your friends, pick up some ballpark classics, and watch your green and gold get ready for the regular season. Get your tickets today to see the Athletics take on the Giants, Padres, Cubs, Dodgers, and more. Tickets are on sale now at athletics.com/spring. That's athletics.com/spring.
The Coliseum has gone by many names, but none better than the Last Dive Bar. Hi, everyone. Ken Korak here, and my friends at Last Dive Bar are helping us celebrate our longtime home. Last Dive Bar has the most unique merchandise for all Oakland baseball fans. T-shirts, sweatshirts, the Ray Fosse line, and my personal favorite, the lights have taken full effect. Visit their website at lastdivebar.com or follow them on social media at Last Dive Bar. All proceeds are invested back into the A's Community Fund and their affiliated charities. Go to lastdivebar.com. That's lastdivebar.com.
The Eno Saris Show is sponsored by Fieldwork Brewing Company. With 8 taproom locations in Northern California, Fieldwork brings you fresh craft beer direct from the source. Fieldwork will also ship beer direct to your door if you live in California. Visit fieldworkbrewing.com.
The Oakland Athletics begin spring training on February 25th. Now's the time to make plans to catch us in Mesa, Arizona, and enjoy the sunshine with your family and friends. Buy your tickets early for the best seats at the lowest prices as your green and gold take on the Giants, Dodgers, Padres, Angels, and more at Hohokam Stadium.
And Tony, it's a deep drive to right in the corner. Gritchick going back. He'll turn and watch it fly.
Get your tickets at athletics.com/spring. That's athletics.com/spring.
The GM David Forst was on A's Cast Live and discussed which players in the A's system he's excited for going forward.
A lot of real positive things coming out of the minor leagues. I'm going to head down to the fall league next week to see, we've got Geloff, Denzel Clark, Lawrence Butler playing down there, and then a full starting pitching staff basically, Ginn, Cusack, Miller, and Palouse. So I'm gonna head down and see those guys. But all of those plus Soderstrom, McCann, I'm sure I'm gonna forget some guys. Max Muncy getting to Lansing. There were a lot of positives in player development this year, and a lot of things that help us figure out sort of the timeline going forward of when we feel like guys might be able to contribute in that.
To listen to the full interview and much more, go to athletics.com/A'sCast.
Streaming from the East Bay, A's Cast Live continues with Chris Townsend.
I can't wait to talk to Larry Bowa. From Sacramento, right, Larry Bowa?
Yeah, we played one of his interviews that he did with Ray Fosse earlier this year when we did Memories with Ray. I think he was with the Angels when I did it. Yeah, he was the Angels coach in like '98, and I found the audio when I was going through classic games. Okay, let's see how our new phone system works here.
This is the new phone system. This is our first phone call. Everybody, brace yourself. Deep breath. Deep breath. Everything's going to be fine. The legend that is Larry Bowa. Oh, it doesn't.
Oh, there we go. Let's see.
Larry, are you there?
Hello? Yes, I am.
How are you? Chris Townsend with the Oakland Athletics. Let me tell you, it's an absolute honor to have you on our show.
All right, guys, I'm ready to go.
Yeah, so earlier today, I saw Mike Schmidt on MLB Network, and it just made me think back to when I was a kid in Philadelphia watching you guys, 1980. I mean, you and Schmidt, one of the best left sides we have ever seen. I know they're rocking right now at the bank, but thinking back to your days in 1980, Pete Rose joined the team. You got Steve Carlton. You had absolute legends on that team. Does the run that the Phillies go through right now remind you of 1980?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, I think the expectations on both teams were high before the season started. And we had our share of rocky moments early in the year in 80, and then we came on at the end. But there's a lot of similarities. I think defensively, we had a real good defensively. Nothing against the team now, the 2022 team, but I'm talking about at that time, our defense was as good as anybody's in baseball. And we got big hits from guys, but there are similarities, no question about that.
You know, when I think about the city of Philadelphia and what it's like to play there, what it's like to star there, you're on the Phillies Wall of Fame, obviously what you did as a player, you've coached there, you've managed there. Philly's a big part. Obviously, you grew up in Northern California here, and we love bringing you back home, but Philly's a big part of your life.
Oh, no question. I mean, they're the ones that gave me an opportunity to play professional baseball. You know, I never got drafted. I didn't play high school baseball. So they gave me an opportunity. And, you know, to still be working with them as we speak is something that, you know, I'm really proud of. And obviously the people that run the organization have kept me in the organization. So, but, you know, it was one of those things where I still go back to California. I have my sister and my nephew and relatives out there. It's just something that when I came here my first year in 70, you know, I liked the area and I just stayed.
Yeah, well, you know, and I think about the Phillies right now, and when we try and explain it to our fans, I've kind of jokingly said the Phillies remind me of that kind of that summer ball team that you were on when you were a kid, and you had a bunch of good players that maybe they didn't fit perfectly together, but all of a sudden as the summer went on, you really came together as a group. And next thing you know, you became unbeatable. You really became that team that nobody wanted to play. They remind me of that. They look like a bunch of guys who are like in high school, having a great time, drinking beers after the game, and just coming together. It's just it's been a wonderful ride.
Yeah, it sure has. And you know, you might be right in that observation. You know, people think when you put a team together and you have 6 weeks of spring training, everything's going to gel. You know, it takes more than spring training. And it took, you know, us to go into maybe June before everyone started feeling comfortable with one another. And as you said right now, you know, the bottom line right now is they just want to win games. They need 4 more wins here, and then they can be crowned world champions. And I think that's the goal. I think the last, since we started this playoff run, guys have played very unselfish. They move runners, they steal bases, they make plays when they're supposed to. And it's a close-knit group, and I think Rob Thompson has a lot to do with that, as he was named manager midway through the season. And hopefully this momentum can carry us over against the Astros when we play them.
Yeah, how tough is that to take over and to now I'm the guy in charge. I'm the guy in front at the front of the plane. I'm the guy at the front of the bus. I'm the guy that makes out the lineup. How tough is that when that change happens to become the guy and to truly get everybody's respect as the leader?
Oh, I definitely think it's tough. You know, I mean, Rob, it's not like he has never been around baseball. He's paid his dues. He's ridden buses in the minor leagues. He's been in charge of the whole Yankee minor league system. He's coached. He's managed in the minor league. So you're not getting somebody that's, oh, this guy hasn't done anything. So, but it's very difficult. Well, all of a sudden now you were the bench coach and now you're in charge of everything. And he got everyone to buy in. They all respect him. They all play hard for him. And I'm happy for him, because when a guy pays his dues, as long as he did, whether it be in the minor leagues or the big leagues, and he finally gets an opportunity, he's taken advantage of it. No question about it.
To me, there's something special when the star player is truly all in. And every single time I see Bryce Harper do something, he's repping the name on the front of the jersey. It's about Philly. It's about the Phillies fans. There's just something about that when you have the ultimate buy-in from your star player, how that affects everybody else in the clubhouse. Are you seeing the same thing?
Yes, definitely. And not just Hart, but Schwarber coming over has done a tremendous job filling in here and taking over some leadership roles. But those two guys are the guys, when you start spring training, you say, these are the guys we're going to have to ride at the end of the year. And they've both risen to the occasion. Harp is red hot right now. And the big home run he got against San Diego was huge. Obviously, if we don't get that, we probably have to go back to San Diego, and who knows what might happen. But your big guys, you want them to respond in a very positive way. And most of the big guys on our team, you can throw Wheeler in there and Nola. They've all responded very well. And that's what as the old saying goes, that's why we pay these guys the big bucks. And they have definitely risen to the occasion and got us going to where all we need is 4 more wins, and we'll see what happens.
Well, the only thing for you that's maybe a little conflicting is over on the other side, you got another Sacramento native in Dusty Baker. As D. Bake, who I know you've known for a long time. You played against him for years. You've known Dusty forever. You guys are both from Sacramento. I know if the Phillies are going to lose, I guess there'd be one guy, be Dusty Baker, that you want him to lose to.
Yeah, I don't want us to lose, but if we were to lose, there's no question. Dusty's done a tremendous job there, and Houston coming over with all those things that happened before he took over, and he's done a great job. This guy's a lifer, and again, he's from Sacramento. I respect the heck out of him, and I really believe that he's going to give us all we can handle. They have great pitching over there. I like our offense a little bit better than theirs as far as depth-wise, 1 through 9. So it should be a real good series to watch.
I think about this series and the fact that you're going to have a long layoff for both teams. We're used to this with a Super Bowl, right? For 2 weeks. We're not used to this for a World Series, and 4 days that's a lot of days. Yeah, it's 4 days, right? It's a lot of days off.
Yeah.
How do you think the layoff will affect both teams? And obviously for Philly, they just need to get one down in Houston.
Right. I think if you tell that to the Phillies, they want to get 2 in Houston, but that's another matter. But you're right. Both teams have to be off 4, and Dusty's team's already done that. They were off 5 days, so they've gone through this drill. We have not. Yeah. We've been playing nonstop. So, I would think the rest for a couple of days would be good for everybody, pitchers, everyday players. We're just going to have to wait and see how 4 days affect both teams. But Dusty's team's already been through that. They had a 5-day layoff before, and it didn't seem to bother them. So hopefully this 4-day layoff won't bother us this time.
Outside the bank, the statues, when you see the statue of lefty Steve Carlton, obviously one of the best pitchers of all time, but a guy that you starred with for many years, and you think of the left side, and I saw him earlier today on MLB Network. I try and tell the younger kids, because we're always talking about, when we had Matt Chapman here in Oakland, people are like, oh, this guy's one of the best third basemen. I was just kind of like, I kind of cringe. People, the younger crew doesn't realize how great Mike Schmidt was. You can look at all the power numbers, how many years he led the National League in home runs and everything, but you also forget about what a magician he was with the glove. Just let everybody know your friend Mike Schmidt, truly the class at third base, and I think the greatest third baseman of all time.
Yeah, no question. I got a chance to play next to him most of my career, and it seems like now, obviously 80's a long time ago, so this younger generation has no idea about him, but he was probably one of the greatest, if not the greatest, to ever put on any kind of uniform, whether it be a Philly uniform. I know Brooks Robinson back in the day was a tremendous fielder, and you even mentioned Chapman and Arenado now. Those are 2 guys that I watch and really admire the way they play defense, but I would put my guy next to any of those guys. When their careers are over, Mike Schmidt was as good as anybody.
It's truly an honor to have you on the program. Thank you so much for the time, and good luck to you and the organization, because you know how much we can't stand the Astros and the whole cheating scam. Yeah, we've had to live it, right? We're in the same division. We were really good during that time. We've had our battles, so we are all putting our Phillies hats on. I can tell you that here in Oakland.
Well, we got a lot of people seems like they're rooting for the Phils, which is good. So anytime we can get the majority of people on our side, I'm all in on it.
Good luck. Take care.
Okay, thank you.
The great Larry Bowa. What a terrific shortstop he was. You want some credentials?
For Larry Bowa or Mike Schmidt?
Well, I'm going to get to Mike Schmidt in a second. I'm going to educate you children on Mike Schmidt, who, by the way, saw him on High Heat today with our guy, the great Mad Dog, Chris Russo. And Schmidt's all gray hair. And I'm like, wow, Schmidt's 73.
Yeah, I think he does and they do Sundays with Schmidt, I think, on the TV broadcast, which is a cool idea.
It's Mike Schmidt. Larry Bowa, World Series champion, 2-time Gold Glove winner, 5-time All-Star. By the way, was a manager of the year. All-time record, because he managed in San Diego and Philly. His all-time record is 418 and 435. Not that bad. Didn't have the best teams.
No, he did win Manager of the Year in 2001 for the Phillies.
Michael Jack Schmidt. Oh, I sold him short, by the way. How many times do you think, you like home runs, right?
Yes.
Haven't you told me, you guys have told me, like, home runs are the most important thing in the world?
That's what they say, yeah.
Ball goes far, team goes far, according to David Force, our general manager. How many times do you think leading your league in home runs would be a big deal?
4 or 5.
4 or 5? That'd be a big deal?
Yeah.
4 or 5 times you hit more home runs than anybody else in the National League or the American League, right?
Yeah.
So if you do it in the American League, National League, pretty big. You said 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
Michael Jack Schmidt led the National League 8 times in home runs.
So he doubled what I said. It's
8 times. Your career is only so long. Almost like half of his career, he led the league in home runs. And he's how many times? He's a 10-time Gold Glove winner. So when A's fans, you want to tell me how good Matt Chapman was? Matt Chapman. This guy led the league 8 times in home runs, 10 Gold Gloves. They didn't have platinum gold. 10 Gold Gloves and 8 times led baseball in home runs. Matt Chapman will never lead baseball in home runs. This guy did it 8 times and was a 10-time Gold Glove winner.
Didn't he also hit 4 home runs in a game before?
Yeah, at Wrigley Field. I don't know what year that was.
That's so impressive. It's 4 home runs in a game.
12. Well, the wind was blowing out that day. I think there was like another.
Oh, wait, you're telling me it was a day game at Wrigley Field?
Yeah, it was. It's a famous game. There was like a bazillion home runs.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
There's like 2 different guys hit 3 home runs. So he did it in 1976, April 17th.
Yeah. I'm pulling up the box score of that game. What was the final score? Rick Monday was in the lineup for the Cubs.
The great Rick Monday.
The final score was 18-16, Philadelphia.
Yeah.
In 10 innings.
Look at all the guys that hit a home run. Rick Monday had 2 dingers in that game.
Yeah, this is home run. Yeah. Maddox, Swisher, Monday,
Gary
Schmidt,
Maddox.
4 for
not
Schmidt.
Nick Swisher. Swisherlicious wasn't even born.
Who's
maybe
Boone?
He was born.
Is it? It's not.
Was it 76? Would Swisher be born?
Nah.
Is he 40?
Bob Boone. I thought it was going to be Bob Boone. Nick Swisher is born in 1980. He's 41.
What was his dad's name?
Let's see.
He's the one who hit the home run.
Steve Swisher.
Steve Swisher. Okay, so here we go. Back to Michael Jack Schmidt.
Oh, real quick, who started that game for the Phillies?
Couldn't even tell. 1976. Yeah. I was 4 years old. I wasn't betting on those games.
You don't watch Steve Carlton go an inning and 2/3 and give up 7 runs, while Rick Russell went 7 innings and gave up 7.
That's a pretty good matchup.
Russell won 7 innings, allowed 14 hits, gave up 7 earned runs.
You remember when Rick Russell won 20 with the Giants?
Yeah, that was back in. Was that 89? He did it. All right, go ahead. Go back to Michael Jack Schmidt.
Michael Jack Schmidt, 12-time All-Star, World Series champion, 3-time MVP. By the way, back then, 3-time MVP was tied for the most ever. So it was like Schmidt, Bonds ended up doing it, 3, Yogi Berra. 3 was the most anyone ever had until Bonds broke that wide open. 10-time Gold Glove, 6-time Silver Slugger, 8-time NL home run leader, 4-time NL RBI leader. His number 20 is retired by the Phillies. He's on the Phillies Wall of Fame. He's Major League Baseball All-Century Team, Major League Baseball All-Time Team, and was inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame first ballot 1995 at 96.5. There are people who didn't vote for him.
Yeah, well, yeah. The people that didn't vote for him and didn't vote for Willie Mays.
Hank Aaron.
Which new documentary is coming out on HBO next month on Willie Mays. Greg Maddux, but Mariano Rivera was the first.
By the way, this pisses me off.
Oh yeah. Well, there's another part of news I wanted to bring up with you later too.
He
didn't say he was retiring though. He didn't
Adam
do the farewell
Wainwright,
tour.
yes, he did. He walked off with that. Wainwright's back.
At 41.
We need these guys to sign a contract saying, all right, if we're going to honor you and we're going to do all this stuff and the last game of the year, we're going to call timeout and everybody's going to walk off and say, you've got to sign a contract saying you're done. If not, don't do it.
Wait, what a pull says, I'm coming back.
Don't do it. Hey, I'm about saying when your career's done, you say when your career's done. Let them rip the uniform off you. I'm okay with that. Don't do this stuff. Don't do this. Oh, we got to honor. How many years are we going to honor you? How many years do we have to go, oh, it's his last year? He got a send-off multiple times in St. Louis this year. And now you're back again. Say, I'm not done yet. So stop doing it.
Yeah, I went back and looked at his numbers. He actually wasn't that bad this year, 41.
That's fine. Then don't go through, because now we're going to go through it all over again. I mean, then now you start looking like that guy. And I know he's not. He's like a great guy, and he'll make a great broadcaster someday.
Oh, yeah, I
mean, he loves baseball, so he's not going to leave it. But you start kind of look bad when year after year you're getting the, hey, you've had such a great year salute.
Do you think Wainwright, I'm going to look at pitchers that pitch until he'll be 42 in August next year. Do you think Adam Wainwright can go 16-10 with a 3.20 ERA and 301 strikeouts at age 42?
How many?
301 strikeouts.
301?
Yeah.
That would be Nolan Ryan.
Yeah, Nolan Ryan.
As soon as you said 300, that's Nolan Ryan.
By the way, Rick Russell won 19 games for the Giants in 88. And then the next year he won 17 and 8 at age 40 and had a 2.94.
Because even Randy Johnson, when he got into his 40s, was not punching out 300. That'd only be Nolan Ryan.
Randy Johnson at age 40 struck out 290.
Like I said,
it's still pretty good.
There's only one guy punching out 300 in his 40s.
The Clemens.
But wait. Look, just look how fast it went downhill. So
290
at the age 40, 290, then at the age of 41, 211, then 172, then the bad back at 43, and then he just dropped off to where the Express didn't fall off till he was 46, and his arm finally went pop, and he was done.
Clemens, when he turned 40, the most he ever struck out was at age 41 with Houston. He struck out 218.
That's what I'm saying. The minute you said 300, there's only one human being doing that.
If they let him go longer, I think Verlander might be able to do it.
Not 300.
The way his bionic arm works now.
300 strikeouts.
What do you have this year? He had to have had over 200.
300 strikeouts, man, is a lot. I don't care what era you're in.
Verlander had 185 this year. But in 2019 at age 36, he struck out 300.
That's not 40.
Yeah. And he struck out 290 the year before.
That's not 40. We're talking about in your 40s. So he's 39, and he struck out 185.
In 175 innings.
That's a long way to go from 300.
I think Nolan pitched like 290 innings that year. He struck out 320. Let me just make sure.
Yeah, you just can't. Nolan Ryan is the most extreme freak.
239 in a third innings he pitched at age 42.
You got these guys. Nolan Ryan's 43 years old and struck out 232. At 43.
At 44, he struck out 203.
I mean, guy's a freak. By the way, what do we got coming up next?
Melissa Lockard.
I still got to get to these last two. Of the 5 things we've learned from this year's postseason.
No, we got plenty of time after Melissa. Our next guest is until 3:30.
Because the 2 are the most important. They are by far the most important. And with another element coming in next year, it makes one of them even more important. In my opinion.
I think. Well, I'll bring the number up when we get to it. How many times? I know what you're getting at, but I have a number for it too that shows that it is for sure coming.
Oh, it's changing. It's just it is what it is. I mean, you can't survive with these 4 hours, 3 hours and 45, 4 hours. You just can't. It's just, man. By the way, the numbers too. I got the numbers for the bullpens for these two teams, which bullpens haven't played as much as years past. Starting pitching has given you more innings. You know, the one thing that we forget, and probably a lot of you, don't think about either, is that how close their bullpens are, the Phillies and the Astros. But you got to remember, one game was 18 innings for the Astros.
Yeah.
The third game of their set against the Seattle Mariners went 18 innings. So this one game kind of skews the numbers way more into the Astros category. If you went more of a standard game, you can't take it away from them, but if you went more standard, they basically played 2 innings of scoreless. They basically who started that third game?
That would have been, was it McCullers?
Wasn't McCullers, I don't think. It was so long ago.
Because I thought it was because he was starting and then he had the champagne bottle, and that's why he pitched game 4. Let's just see. There was 1-0. Game was started by George Kirby for the Mariners and Lance McCullers of the Mariners.
So he only went 6.
Yeah, and Kirby went 7.
So the rest of the game was relievers.
Luis Garcia went 5.
So basically all of that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys covered the rest of that game. They all got credit for bullpen numbers.
Yeah.
So your bullpen numbers for the Phillies and you're going to see a lot of this, by the way, in the next couple of days. If you're watching like MLB Network, you're going to see a lot of the comparisons. But when you see the comparisons and you see the numbers, remember, there were all those innings that were pitched in one game. So the Phillies numbers with the Houston Astros from a bullpen standpoint, pretty much all the numbers are really comparable. There's not really anything that stands out where you go, aha.
Yeah, the Phillies bullpen has been pretty solid this postseason with Alvarado and Eflin and who's the other guy that throws? Sir Anthony Dominguez. They've all been very solid for them this year. And, Houston's bullpen with our guy Ryan Stanek, our good friend, Ryan Presley, Hunter Brown, who's going to be a starter, the kid from where'd Roxy say he's from? He named it was some like small school.
Wayne State.
Wayne State. There you go.
All right, here's just the bullpen comparison. So you take out those numbers from the Mariners series, and you just have the league championship numbers. So from the ALCSs. Oh, no, I think this actually counts. I think it counts. So it'll show you how close they are because. No, this is, you know what? Strike that. This is from the AL and NLCS. So this takes the Mariners game out of it. The bullpen for the Phillies is 2-0, while the Astros bullpen's 1-0. ERA for the Phillies bullpen is 2.18. ERA for the Astros, 1.42. Innings pitched, 20 2/3 for the Phillies. Innings pitched for the Astros, just 12 2/3. So less innings. Strikeouts, 20 strikeout to walk. The comparison, 24-7. For the Phillies, 19-5 for the Astros. Opponents batting average 225 to 116. I mean, it's very comparable. I mean, but far more work for the Phillies bullpen.
Melissa's here, by the way, so I can add it to the stream. And there we go.
Well, hello. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I am doing well. We're kind of in a weird kind of almost like football Super Bowl week where we're waiting for the big one to happen. We're not used to this many days off. It's just awkward.
It's a lot of waiting for Godot, but baseball style.
Well, and the thing too is we just don't know how these teams will react. There's no way to, we've seen teams clinch early, teams wait, weather issues, but both teams. That's why I say it's kind of like how we see with the Super Bowl where there's 2 weeks. I'm not saying it's the exact same, but to have this many days off for both these teams, we don't know how it's going to affect them.
Yeah, think back to the 89 World Series and that huge break after the earthquake. That might be the only time you can really sort of have a similar, I mean, obviously the circumstances around that break were different, but both teams had to basically be idle for a full week or 10 days, I think it was. And then came back and could really reset their pitching staffs however they wanted. I mean, I think that's the rarest part of all of this is that usually you have one team that's pitching staff that's completely blown up by the time they get to the World Series because they had to use their guy in Game 7 and all this sort of thing. And, these staffs can set up any way they want to, which is pretty remarkable.
We always look at everything through the A's lenses. So when we look at this and we look at the postseason and you go, maybe we should do that. Maybe we should think about that. So if you put on your A's glasses and you look at this postseason, is there anything that you say philosophy, style, or anything that the A's should be looking at?
Yeah, they should totally sign Bryce Harper and Justin Verlander. I think that would probably
go. Hey, Verlander, you can get Verlander. You can't get Harper. You can get Verlander.
No, I mean, I think it's very interesting because these teams are so different in how they're built and so different in how they've come together as both organizations and rosters that I think there probably isn't a lot to learn from the perspective of how are you going to build a team just kind of globally because they are so different. I think it's actually a good lesson in the fact that there isn't one way to build a baseball team. And I think we forget that a lot. And that, different styles are still possible in baseball and actually are, one of the strengths of baseball is that you can do it a lot of different ways. And so I think that should give you some hope though, because obviously it's a big mountain to climb to try to build up what the Astros have built, but it's also a big climb to look at a team like the Phillies that signs all these big free agents when you're a team that doesn't sign free agents. So that, that you can see different ways of doing this should give hope to all the different teams that there's ways to get it done.
Not to say that anybody doesn't use metrics and anybody doesn't like data. Everybody's using data, but the difference between these two organizations is Dave Dombrowski does not run his franchise like the Houston Astros or the Dodgers or the A's or the Yankees. Dombrowski's more an old school baseball type.
Yeah, and he's done it with 4 different franchises. I mean, the rarity of going to a World Series with more than one franchise is, pretty remarkable. To do it with 4 different teams and in really the same era almost, you're looking like Justin Verlander's career. He spans pretty much just the same career. So I think it is remarkable. I think he has a real knack for seeing when a team is close and knowing the move to make to get them over a hump. And trusting that superstars can do what superstars can do. And, maybe we've seen some other franchises, even really the Yankees sometimes shy away from that idea that a superstar can still be a superstar and get it done. I mean, the fact they've gotten to this point and haven't signed Aaron Judge to a lifetime contract yet is a little bit of an indictment of that. But, I think his style still works and you've got to have an owner that's willing to pay it. You've got to have an owner that's willing to trust that, you may get 1 or 2 really great years and then you're going to have to build out of a hole after that. But those 1 or 2 great years are really worth it. Again, I think the variety of styles that you see in baseball are important to still have. If everybody was like the Astros or everybody was like the Dodgers and there was no variety, I think it'd be pretty boring.
So looking at we'll get back to this a little bit later. I want to get into your article about the Athletics and looking at the infield, and you know, give us what you think if we say, okay, fast forward, we're heading to spring training. How do you envision? We have no idea what moves they're going to make, what signings they're going to make, winter meetings, after the winter meetings. I'm assuming a lot of signings and stuff will be done after the winter meetings. That's a different pond that the A's will fish in. But until we know that information, what we have now, what are we looking at?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty murky. It's not a clear pond. I think they do not have a lot of guys that have said, I am the guy at this position based on how they played last year. I think that's one of, the disappointing things about the first year of the rebuild was that there weren't a lot of kind of foundation blocks put in that you could say, okay, this is for sure a corner here. I mean, beyond the catching position, which I think, there's a couple of different foundation pieces there. But, the infield is in flux. I think, Nick Allen, the way that he played defensively, especially the last 6 weeks of the season, you sort of saw sparks offensively. It wasn't consistent, but you could see what he could do when he was kind of feeling comfortable there. I think he's probably the closest to being able to say, okay, he's your starter without any competition. But I don't know that they'll have anybody come in with no competition. Tony Kemp and Seth Brown certainly factor into that infield equation, but they'll still get a lot of reps in the outfield, I imagine. And, the real question is, what to make of Kevin Smith and the fact that in Las Vegas in September, the dude was basically Babe Ruth out there. And, if he can hit it all as good as defensively as Nick Allen was, Kevin Smith was very quietly also around that level of defensive abilities. So to have two of them on the left side of the infield there in a league without shifts, if both of them can get back to where you would have expected them to hit, like based on their minor league track records, you've got the start of something there. But I think there's still a lot that needs to get worked out. And I'd be very surprised if the infielders they currently have on the 40-man roster are the only infielders they still have when they get to opening day.
Yeah, Kevin Smith, got to meet him in spring training. That's where we found out as a kid the All-Star team was green and gold, so he loved the colors. His parents loved the colors. I mean, it was this, hey, this could be a great story. The guy's a shortstop. He's been moved to third, so obviously good feet, good hands, and then just didn't hit. And then he went down to AAA and really didn't hit. And you got worried, like, what's wrong with them? How does a guy drop off the way that he did? And then, as you mentioned, the last month, I got to do the minor league report every day for the broadcast. I kept saying, man, is this like a misprint? I thought he was 3 for 4 with a 2-run shot yesterday. It's like every day he's hitting home, either a home run, multiple home runs, multiple hits. At this point, what do we believe? I mean, obviously they have to give him a chance because he's a part of the Matt Chapman trade, but what are we to believe about him?
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, I think if you look at his track record in the minor leagues, and if you talk to some of his coaches, back when he was in the Toronto system, there was a tendency, I think, sometimes for him to get into his head a little bit. I think he's a really smart guy and perhaps sometimes tends to overthink a little bit. And so when he got into slumps, maybe it was harder for him to get out. I think you saw there was a real variation between his first minor league season and his second one, and not being able to get out of that slump in AA. Then he came back after the pandemic and had a huge year that led into the trade. So, it may have been a matter of just mentally needing to get right again. I think the talent has been there since dating back to when he was in Maryland in college. He's got above average power for the position that he plays. He's a good athlete. He may not ever hit for a high average, but he should make a decent amount of contact just based on, the talent that's there. So, if he can find a mental approach maybe that allows him to absorb those slumps a little bit easier, perhaps there's a way to get out of that. But I think he hit 11 home runs in 25 games. And I know that's a ridiculous league, but that's a ridiculous number of home runs too. So, I think that's it's certainly something they should explore. Whether or not he was in the Matt Chapman trade, I think that's worth giving him a very long look in spring training.
And there were talks about how at the beginning of the year, how he could spell Elvis at short. So there was some thoughts that he can play shortstop.
He's a good defender, and he graded out really well in advanced, defensive metrics at all the positions he played for the A's. He was so bad offensively that he was still a net negative in terms of, player worth but it was close. And when you look at how bad he was offensively, that's saying something. You look at Nick Allen, and the fact that he was still a net positive to where he was offensively gives you a good sense of how good he was defensively. But Kevin Smith was in that ballpark, and so that is saying a lot. He is very versatile. He can play second base if you need him to also. So there is no reason not to give him another chance next year for sure.
All right, I'm going to give you one of the young guys. You can only pick one. So you got to buy a stock, and you're buying one of these young guys that you've listed in the article. Just not to be a contributor. I'm talking about a guy to come up and play and forcing his way in the lineup, getting a ton of at-bats. If you could only buy one guy, which guy are you buying?
For next year or his whole career?
Next year.
Next year. I would say Zach Geloff then, because I do think, he's a guy that's probably going to get there first. I think Tyler Soderstrom's going to get there not too long after Zach, but I think Zach's going to be there before Tyler is. Everyone who just sees him play, even if the numbers aren't, kind of jumping off a page at any particular point, people who watch him play come away impressed. He does everything really well. He's such a good athlete. He's got great power. He's got great baseball instincts. He's got a really good energy on the field. Teammates kind of are drawn to him. He's just the sort of player that I think, people look at and say, this guy's a winner, and he's going to be a big part of a winning team for a long time. He came back from a pretty rough injury and still performed really well down the stretch. He's playing well in the fall league right now. So I think he's somebody who comes up and makes a difference at some point, next season. And then, I think Tyler will also come up and establish himself. He may take a little bit longer just given that he's younger, but I think he'll be a guy that, is going to be that 30, 35 home run guy every year.
That's huge. 35 home run guy. What the A's need, when you mentioned that, okay, we're not going to go out and buy Verlander. The reality is we need these guys to work. And at some point they got to get here pretty quick.
Yeah. And, the other guy that I think doesn't get a lot of press outside of, people that follow the A's closely is Lawrence Butler. And, he's really, I think, opened a lot of eyes at the fall league because I think there weren't a lot of people outside the A's organization that were paying attention to him. I think they've got to figure out a way to, a home for him defensively. He's not that level of outfielder yet that you could just throw him out there. Better first baseman than outfield, but his speed would work better in the outfield, if that makes sense. Here's a guy that he takes a lot of walks. He hits for power. He's going to steal 20 bases. It's like almost I don't want to overstate it because Olsen was, a little bit better at working the walk, but there's similar skill sets there, except he can run, which is, kind of a pretty cool package to put together. They're from a similar part of the country as well, high school draft picks. And, if Butler hadn't had the first two pro seasons where he had struggled, I think you'd be hearing a lot about him. People maybe made up their mind a little too early. But he's a really exciting young player as well.
Yeah. How important is it for the A's to get more athletic?
Yeah, absolutely. It's in the name, so they got to do it. But no, for sure. I think, again, you're looking at the shifts and the fact that will be different next year. Having really athletic infielders is going to be a big bonus. And, even looking, there was an interesting stat that Tony Kemp led the league in sliding plays, this year. And I know that's sort of like a weird arcane sort of stat, but like, you're going to need guys that can do that sort of thing, that can't just be positioned in a particular spot to make an easy play on a ground ball. And at the very least, they've got those kind of guys both on the 40-man roster now and coming in a lot of different spots, which should help the pitching staff, and it needs a lot of help. So I think that's a good thing.
Well, that does not shock me because Tony Kemp leaves his feet on just about every play. It can be a routine fly ball in left field and he's diving for it. This guy does not play from his feet. Have you ever seen anybody leave their feet more than Tony Kemp? Whether it's
I don't know. Yeah, it's interesting. Like at second base, it really works. It's almost like maybe he needs to have a different mindset in left field. I don't know if he needs to leave him quite as much, but his body control when he's in the air is very rare, I think, for a baseball player to be able to kind of contort himself the way he is able to do that. So it's fun. At the very least, it's one of the more entertaining aspects of watching the A's play.
One of the things about watching what we're watching here with the World Series and what could the A's learn or what could they do better with. One is international signings. That is one thing that Houston has been very good at, and they've done it with very limited money. They're not out there throwing these huge bonuses. Now, I guess things have changed, but back in the day, they carpet bombed. They just went and paid for a lot of different guys where it was like 100,000 and below, gave it to a bunch of guys and just bet that a couple of them would work out, and that's what happened. They didn't throw all their eggs in one basket or a couple baskets. So you look at the Astros, international signings have been a big part of how they've built their roster. Like I'm looking at your article, and we look around, and, you know, Robert Puason was a name we used to see. We don't really see that name anymore. That's $5.1 million, Robert Puason. That's one thing for the A's is we don't have a whole lot of international signings that we can look forward to.
Yeah, no, it's definitely been a weakness. And, I think Jordan Diaz who is in that article, and I think is, one of the players that, at least from a hitting standpoint, is one of the really bright prospects from the A's perspective, is probably the brightest light from that group right now. I think they've got some pitching that they really like, and there's a few things that are kind of around the bend, but their big signings haven't really panned out for the most part, and then that's hurt because they're big financial investments. You're right that in the way that the pool works now, that's basically the majority of the money that's going out in any particular year. And, they do need to start getting those guys to click better. I don't know the solution to that. I know they've had good scouts there. So it's just, for whatever reason, the development has stalled out. So it is something that definitely needs to get fixed.
That might be one of those, and I hate to use the word luck because I think people will just say, that's luck. That's what losers say. Losers say it's a crapshoot. Losers say it's luck. But there has to be, there is kind of something to it when these kids down there aren't playing in games. You're basically looking at kids at a very young age, 15, 16 years old. You're banking that they're going to get bigger. They're going to put on more weight. They're going to get stronger. Some kids are going to grow into their bodies. I mean, you're making big money decisions on guys that are not even old enough to get a driver's license yet. I tend to think there is some real luck with these international signings, even to this day, and that's probably why more than ever we need the draft to be also international.
Yeah, it's such a difficult question too, because it's so much of it is a lot of these players are exploited at a young age. The money's not even going to them in some respects. I think we need to be sensitive to the idea that drafts in general are not necessarily good for players. Players lose a lot of leverage in that respect. On the other hand, there's a lot of corruption that maybe could be cleaned up in a draft. The question is whether Major League Baseball would really invest in, if they built an international draft, cleaning up the corruption that goes around that area, or if they would sort of overlook it while it was still feeding itself into that same system. And I don't know that we know, and I don't know that we can touch. So I think that's why you didn't see an agreement on it during this last CBA negotiating thing, because there's so much distrust as to what actually would get done there. There does need to be a better system than what's going on there right now. And it needs to be a system where the kids themselves are getting more of the money that they're getting, that the trainers are not having as much influence on where people go and who gets seen when and who gets taken out of, some of these kids get essentially signed at 12 years old and then don't get seen again. And then teams can renege on those contracts when they're 16, and all of a sudden they've had 4 years where no one else has seen them play and their whole dreams are, there's some really horrible stories. So, there's a lot that needs to get fixed. And it's probably not as simple as just saying, let's put the U.S. amateur draft onto the international, because there is such a variance between what goes on in the Dominican Republic versus Colombia versus Venezuela and so forth. But I do think some other system, needs to happen.
Totally agree. And, I know if the player, don't worry about it if you have a phone ringing. Don't worry about it.
Yes, sorry. Political calls. Is it November 9th yet?
Oh, my God. Isn't that amazing? If you've had a cell phone for a long time, isn't it amazing how many texts and our phone numbers have been sold over and over and over and over again? It's like I'm scared to even look at my phone because I'm thinking it's my wife, it's my kids, it's a buddy. No, every single thing is about this political race that's coming up here in November.
Well, and I already voted, and I feel like there should be a life filter that just says I voted, and therefore no one should contact me again. I shouldn't have to watch the commercials. Like, there's a button that should be able to get pushed.
Oh yeah, that would be great. The thing that, and I don't want this to sound horrible. It is going to sound horrible, but baseball teams' jobs are to get baseball players to perform for them. And I understand the international side. It's corrupt. It's dirty. I know that if one of these kids signs with an agent, the agent for sure is going to get his cut. We know that for sure. And agents who are running a lot of negotiations, they don't want to see that. And I hate to use Robert Poussin, but they don't want to see the Robert Poussin signing for $5.1 million go away, because they're getting that percentage of it. So, yes, there's a lot of dirty stuff. But in the end, for baseball teams, the tough thing is, hey, my job is to find players to come into my organization to help me win.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the tough thing is, like, if you look at Puerto Rico, for instance, they weren't part of the draft for a long time, and then they got included into the sort of U.S. amateur draft, if you want to call it that, domestic amateur draft. And the interest in baseball from an amateur level in Puerto Rico has plummeted since they got into it, because there's less money for these sort of nefarious people to make and kind of bringing these people in. So, there's also that side of it, is if you're trying to get the best talent from the island to come to you, or from Venezuela to come to your league, if you put a draft on it, do you start losing that to soccer like you did in Puerto Rico, or basketball? It's so complicated, and I am far from an expert on it. I do know, though, that it does need to change, and I do absolutely know that the A's for sure need to do a better job. I mean, you look back at those early 2000s teams, they wouldn't have been anywhere if it wasn't for the players that they got from their international program, from Miguel Tejada, Ramon Hernandez, Angel Baroa, all these players that they were able to kind of either use as foundations for their team or trade for pieces that they needed to get to those levels. And, that element has really been missing for the last 15 years or so.
What are your expectations for next season? And once again, we have no idea what the team's going to, we really don't know what the team's going to look like. I mean, anything could happen, but what are your expectations?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think they're going to compete for a title. I mean, I think they're still several years off from that. But I do think it will look more stable. I do think it will look more competitive. I think you'll be able to look at a team that looks like a cohesive team, as opposed to a bunch of moving parts that were sort of coming in and out, and no like real plan that looked like it was in place. I think, obviously the trades that were made were going to be devastating regardless of when they made them. But to have to make them in like a 4-day period like they did meant that they were scrambling for any sense of identity at the start of spring training. They didn't necessarily have, 3 months to sort of, okay, we're going to trade this guy, then we're going to bring in this guy, then we're going to kind of move around and patch things together the way that you normally would have seen these rebuilds done, like say before the 2005 season, or say before the 2015 season, or 2012 season. And I think that's what you missed this year, was this sort of cohesive sense of, this is what we're building towards. There just wasn't that. And I do think you will see that this year. I think you'll start to see the outlines of what makes sense as the next generation of what this team will look like. I think you'll start to see some young players come up and actually produce. And I think that will be encouraging. But you look at a division with Houston still going to be very, very good next year. Seattle's still going to be very, very good next year. Who knows what the Angels are going to do? And now you've got the Rangers, looking to make a big cut. I think it's going to be a little while before you start to look at them as like, leading the division in any sense. But it should look a lot more like a team than I think it did at times this year.
Well, I'll tell you, seeing on Twitter, kind of what you just said right there, you had a really condensed version on that on Twitter, and a fan comes out, well, why can't the A's buy that? You make a great point. Like, there wasn't a lot of time. You had to make decisions that were really fast. People need to understand that other teams are trying to sign players. Other teams are trying to make trades. People just need to understand that when the lockout ended, you didn't have a lot of time to really build a team with identity. And I know that I saw you on Twitter with one person and you're trying to explain yourself, but it's just so hard to explain how complicated it was in a tweet.
Yeah. And, I think the other thing too is if you look at the timing of the lockout, what happened right before the lockout were the big free agent signings, right? There were a whole bunch of big free, and that was the focus of almost every team. And so trades just didn't happen. And what the A's were going to be focused on was going to be trades. And so a lot of that had to wait. And, I know there's this sense that, teams were talking on the side, and I'm sure there was, some communications between front offices, but ultimately those trades had to happen with a lot less information about the players that were coming back and forth than you would have seen before. So, I think that's kind of what there was just no cohesiveness at all to how everything started, and then you had a COVID outbreak 2 weeks into the season, and then all of a sudden you're using like a 57-man roster, which is kind of what ended up happening, as well. And I think that just set the whole season down in a very weird path. So again, not to excuse anything, I don't think anyone's going to look at this season and say this is a point on anybody who worked in the front office's resume that they want to brag about. I mean, it didn't go how they wanted it to go. But, that being said, I don't think the circumstances made it easy for them to do what they were trying to do. There was no threading the needle that was really possible, I think, this offseason.
Well, the great thing about our front office is the fact that they're so secure with themselves. They let us know. I mean, they said this is going to be a rough year. We've kind of, it is what it is. They got one arm tied behind their back. So that's one thing I've always appreciated about David Force, and I've always appreciated about Billy Beane is their honesty. And they let us know. They let us know this upcoming year is going to be, it should be better, but like you said, it's not going to be championship caliber. They're just being honest, where a lot of people would BS you. That's the great thing about our front office. They won't. Let's end on this. All right. You got Phillies, major it factor team. Astros, no doubt, are a powerhouse. Who you like and why?
I think the Astros take it. I think their pitching from top to bottom is just so much deeper. They're throwing starters out of their bullpen that can go 6 innings if you needed them to all of a sudden. They've got that kind of championship medal. They've been there before. They were there last year. They didn't get it done, but there's there. And I kind of feel like it's Dusty's year. The guy's been so close for so long. I'm certainly never someone who would root for the Astros, but I root for Dusty. So I think this is his year.
All righty. Great work as always in The Athletic. I'm telling you, everybody, if you love baseball, football, basketball, you name it, soccer, they do an unbelievable job. College football, you name the sport. Athletic is the best sports journalism going right now. The article is Oakland A's offseason outlook, Nick Allen, Seth Brown, and the infield depth chart. I'm assuming that you're going to be doing more of these articles as we start getting into later into the fall and into the winter.
Yeah, we'll have outfield coming, catchers, and then your starters and your bullpen. So we'll get it all knocked out in the next couple of weeks.
I don't even know how you're going to do catchers. That might be like a book. I mean, seriously.
I should just do catchers and walk away, right?
It may take you 2 years to write a thing on how many catchers we got.
I'm just going to call it Ray.
Ray Fosse's dream organization.
Exactly.
2023. Great stuff, and we'll check in soon. Enjoy the World Series.
Appreciate it. Thank you guys so much.
Melissa Lockard, that's funny. Because it's true. How many pages is this?
I don't know if it's, no offense, but I don't know if it's Eno Saris length, but
no, she doesn't go Eno. Eno will give you 18, 20 long pages. Like you go to print it out and you go, this is 20 pages. But yeah, the journalism on The Athletic is incredible. I mean, it's great. It might be some of the best written journalism of all time.
I thought hockey and you were talking about all the sports.
Oh, wow.
You want Sharks coverage? I mean,
they got boxing. They got UFC. I left that out.
I know our Sharkies are not performing well to start the year, but that's okay. Still early. He's only 9 games in.
Well, that'll be funny. Well, maybe we'll have to reach back to her for the catchers.
Oh, for sure. And one guy that
Susak, guy could be the future. And where's he going to be in the article? You just took him number 1 out of Arizona.
You got Kyle McCann, who's hitting really well in the minor leagues.
Where are you going to put Susac in the article?
Yeah.
He's way behind. I mean, you got Big Murph,
Langoliers, Soderstrom.
I mean, right? Well, is he a first base? I mean, is he a catcher?
Is he going to play? Is he going to play third base, left field? What are we going to do with him? The guy that everyone keeps talking about in the Arizona Fall League right now, I keep seeing about is Mason Miller, the right-hander that the A's drafted in 2020?
Yeah.
Throwing 101 miles an hour. You're telling
I
me?
don't care.
You're telling me
I don't care.
You're telling me there's a guy in our system that throws 100 miles an hour?
I don't care. I'm so tired of hearing about 100 miles an hour. You're not tired of that? You know how many guys stink who throw 100 miles an hour in baseball?
Well,
there's a lot.
There's a good few.
They can't throw strikes. Then when they throw it over, they're throwing 100 and they get racked. If you can throw 100 and you can throw strikes, but I mean, we've had guys that in the past have thrown hard and they got rocked. I want major league pitchers and not minor league throwers. Who am I quoting?
Scott Emerson.
Thank you. Our pitching coach of the Oakland Athletics. I want major league pitchers, not minor league throwers. So you know what? And that takes me to the article. Where was it today? Oh, God, where was this? Jim Callis had it. I saw this today, and I wanted to wait. And, of course, we just had Jim on the program. Here's the article. Ranking World Series players by prospect hype. You think we got days off in between the World Series? Let's go back to the hype of the guys in this World Series when they were drafted 10 years ago.
Okay, so Harper, obviously number 1.
Wait. When was if Verlander?
What was Verlander like?
I'm gonna get Verlander's 39 years old. What year was I drafted?
He came out of Virginia.
Who am I?
Was that 04?
I thought he was Old Dominion.
But he's from Virginia. Old Dominion's in Virginia. But yeah, he's Old Dominion. I'm saying, 04.
2004. You were looking.
But
look at this. Syndergaard, 2010.
Look, Yordan Alvarez, he was an international free agent. Where's Hunter Brown from Wayne State?
Trying to who's that? So obviously Verlander's the oldest guy. Gene Segura, he was 2007 free agent signing. 2007.
He's only 32.
Reese Hoskins out of Sacramento State.
Think about that for a second.
He's a Hornet.
3 years prior.
There's your boy Hunter Brown out of Wayne State, Michigan.
Think about this. Gene Segura, 2007, Verlander 3 years earlier. He's 39. Segura's 32.
I did not know Rio Muto's from Oklahoma.
I didn't either. I mean, I knew that had been in the league for a while, but Oklahoma. By the way, something happened on this. We can get to it later before the show ends. Something happened with the Marlins on this date.
On this date.
Well, let me.
So it's got to be World Series.
You know what?
Because this is late.
You know what? I'll just play it for you.
By the way, something I want to say how the Braves never went out like chumps. Remember Levon Hernandez's Eric Gregg horrible strike zone that did the Braves in? Yeah, see, the Braves got screwed at times.
He had, 15 strikeouts in that game?
And no, I'm not an Atlanta Brave fan. I just watched. We all at one point watched a lot of Braves games on TBS.
Yeah, well, Superstation.
Yeah. On this date, I'm going to say they won one of their World Series.
The 0-1 pitch. A liner off Nagy's glove into center field. The Florida Marlins have won the World Series.
They show Smoking Jim going like this with the crowd.
We talked about how good a player Edgar Renteria was going to be and how much he's shown us in this series. That is the 6th time this year that he has driven in the winning run in this type of situation.
The great Joe Morgan and Bob Costas, both friends of the program.
Joe Morgan, Oakland's own, who unfortunately passed away not too long ago, probably did his last professional interview right here on A's Cast Live.
With you and Ken.
Yeah. We're remembering the 1972 World Series. It wasn't too long after that he passed away. We may have been his last interview.
I remember we replayed that interview. Was it last year? I think we replayed it with Ray. But speaking of the Marlins, they made more news yesterday too, hiring Skip Schumacher to be their new manager.
Skip Schumacher.
Wait
a minute, I thought he was a jockey.
By the way, the last 4 Cardinal bench coaches have all moved on to be managers.
Wait. How long ago was Schumacher in the league?
Let's see.
Wasn't that long ago, right?
He's only 42.
Yeah, I'm not saying he hasn't been gone that long.
His last year in the league was 2015 with the Reds. I have it on. I think I have it on the playbook about the.
Hold on. Go back to it. Go back to his playing career. You remember him as a Cardinal. Oh, that year with the Dodgers. We'll never forget that year.
And then he was a Red at the end of his career.
A Red.
But
he played 11 years.
This stat about them is pretty crazy. There's been 4 consecutive bench coaches for the Cardinals have gone to be managers. David Bell, now with the Reds. Mike Schilt was the manager with the Cardinals. Oliver Marmol, now the manager of the Cardinals, and now Skip Schumacher is now the manager of the Marlins. So the guy next year, whoever he'll probably be the next manager of some team.
It's not going to be Adam Wainwright.
Yeah. Could Yadi Molina be a manager?
Now, he's got a basketball team he's got to worry about.
He's also the GM of Team Puerto Rico, I'm pretty sure, for the World Baseball Classic.
Is he? No, that's good stuff.
I think I just let me double check to make
sure. The ex-players being involved for the World Baseball Classic is important.
Yeah, Puerto Rico's manager.
He's managing?
He's managing Team Puerto Rico. Wow.
He's going to go up against D-Row?
D-Row's staff is stacked.
But I want King Griffey Jr. playing. I don't want to be in the hitting coach.
Who's the pitch? Oh, man.
What the hell does King Griffey Jr. know about being a hitting coach? We need him to play.
He hired Rags is on that staff. Like he hired
Dave Righetti.
He hired a great staff.
San Jose's own Dave Righetti.
All right, come on. I don't get to the part about who he hired on the staff here. I'll find it, but I know Griffey, I know Rags, Andy Pettit. He has an all-star caliber coaching staff.
Ken and I are friends. If you remember back from Japan, Ken Griffey and I.
That's true. Yeah,
Junior. I like to call him Junior, as we had our moment together in Tokyo, Japan. King Griffey Jr. and I.
I believe Ian Kinsler's the manager of Team Israel. So another former player.
He was a good player. Second baseman with pop. He could take it easy.
I don't know who's going to be.
Larry Walker should be leading Team Canada, or Matt Stairs.
I was thinking either one of them or
who else is a Canadian?
Joey Votto.
Still playing.
Jason Bay. We did just
Jason Bay's Canadian?
Yeah. I think he's from Vancouver or British Columbia, somewhere in British Columbia.
Jason Bay is not going up against Larry Walker, Hall of Famer.
Fergie Jenkins, why can't he come out and
too old?
That's best Canadian.
Fergie's got to be.
Vlad Guerrero Jr.
Was he born in Montreal?
I believe so, yeah. Yep. Tyler O'Neill, Russell Martin. There was another one. Josh Naylor's Canadian. The Naylor brothers are Canadian.
Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is Canadian.
But I think he's playing for the Dominican Republic.
Oh, come on, Vladdy.
Yeah, as a Canadian-Dominican professional baseball
player. You were
player.
born in Canada. I want to see him. Oh, Canada. No.
He was born in Montreal. Why isn't his dad managing the team then?
Why is he not playing Team Canada?
I think Freddie Freeman's playing on Team Canada because I think his late mother might have been Canadian. I'm pretty sure Freddie Freeman's playing for. He was. Let me just make sure.
Freddie Freeman's playing Team Canada. Well, why don't you say I'm playing for Mike Piazza? Because my aunt's husband's cousin was Italian.
Speaking to the media at All-Star Weekend, Freddie Freeman announced that he wanted to suit up for Canada at the upcoming World Baseball Classic.
Is this ever going to catch on?
It was pretty cool when they had it in San Diego.
Who watched it?
I don't know. I mean, I watched some of it. That Adam Jones catch,
you
the Rob
watched
Manny.
Some of it, and the stands weren't packed.
Where I want to know why the reason why he's doing Canadian roots. Both of his parents hail from Ontario, so his mom and dad are both from Canada.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, but Freddie has dual citizenship, but he grew up in California.
his team will probably go as far as his Dodgers did in the postseason, too.
Oh, wow. Shots fired.
Too soon? Is it too soon? Getting back, and I know it's a touchy subject for some people, but they've got to clean up this international thing. And the agents, and I don't want to be negative here, but I've been trying to let everybody know, remember this great postseason that we just had? The agents didn't want this. The agents don't care about your enjoyment. They don't at all. They don't care whether baseball's better as a sport. They don't. All they think about is, how do I get each, and it's their job. I get it. But all they care about is how they get each of their clients, no matter what level they're at, more money. That's all they care about. And the more money they get their clients, the more money they make on their percentages. That's it. That's where we're at. They literally said, we do not want, where most postseason, I'll ask you, being the sports fan that you are, we have said this 100 times. People may get tired of hearing it, but they need to hear it. NFL expanded postseason. Did it work?
Yes.
NBA.
Yes.
NHL.
Yes.
College basketball.
Yes.
College football.
For now, yeah. Yes.
College football, they got a thing out today in The Athletic. Speaking of great journalism, college football is looking to expand so much, they might have to start fighting football, the NFL, that league called the National Football League, for time. Because that's one thing college football has never wanted to. You don't mess with the big boy. The big boy on the block is the NFL. College football is about to start messing with the NFL. That is interesting. But
and the playoff rankings come out next week, first one.
So the agents didn't want this, because they said the easier it is to get into the postseason, the less likely teams are going to spend more money on free agency. And remember, their belief is the tide, the tide rolls in and the tide rolls out. Do you know the tide is every 12 hours?
I did not know that.
So the tide comes in and then the tide rolls out. It's every 12 hours.
I didn't grow up on the beach.
It's constantly going like this, right? Every 12 hours, it's switching completely. So they believe that the rising tide raises all seas.
I know the expression.
Or the tide raises, the raising, was it the raising, raises all boats, or there's a bunch of them. They have a couple of them. But that's the thing. It's like they think that if Cody gets 8 years, $210 million, then everybody who's comparable.
A rising tide lifts all boats.
The rising tide lifts all boats. Whatever. It's funny, though.
It is. I'm sure we can find plenty more.
Okay, so if Cody gets 8 years, $215 million, they think everybody comparables is going to get, this guy will get 200, this guy gets $185, and that's how they think everything. And they think that owners, this is their rationale, which to me, I've never been a baseball agent, so I don't know. I don't want to act like I'm smarter than they are, but I'm like, if you're not watching the Philadelphia Phillies prove to you it's just get in, the Phillies are proving it's just get in. Once again, we're having a team prove to us just get in. Versus they want less playoffs, so owners will be more desperate, spend more money in free agency, because they think the easier it is to get in the playoffs, that owners will say, I don't need to spend as much money to get into the postseason. Did anything seem easy getting into the postseason?
No.
What the hell are these agents talking about?
The Phillies had to fire their manager and play extremely well to get in. Who else had one on a great run? I mean, the Padres were sinking at one point and they had to turn it around.
Padres season, they were never good offensively.
Yeah, and the Mariners were below 500 at one point and they turned around. They weren't like the Phillies when they were 21 and 29, but
the Blue Jays and the Rays are battling in a brutal division.
Yeah, so it's
that you know what? Thank you for reminding me. I'm going to get one of my old pieces of paper here. By the way, if you ever watch me on NBC and you want to know those hits that I do, I got all these notes. And they actually end up on the ground. Red Sox. We forgot to go back over what Joon Lee said about the Red Sox.
We also have the two things from the article you learned.
Yes.
And I found your Yankees audio.
Oh, now you find it, you honk.
Well, you said I couldn't find it, and I did.
But this postseason proves you just got to get in. And the trading deadline, was it not crazy?
It was.
So everything that the agents told us during the lockout and what they fought for was wrong. They were wrong. They said, oh, the trading deadline's going to suck. No one's going to sign free agents. There's going to be no trades. Owners are not going to want to spend money to try and get in the postseason because it's so easy to get wrong. So why would I believe agents now on international draft? Oh, boy, if you go the international draft way, man, this is going to be hurtful. This is going to be this. This is going to be that. You know what it does is it keeps you from signing, and I hate to keep using his name, Robert Poisson from a $5.1 million contract, and the kid can't play past A-ball. That's what it keeps you from doing, and they don't want that. They want these teams to continue to spend outlandish amounts of money on kids that have done nothing. At least if I'm spending on a high school kid, the high school kid's probably been an all-league player, has probably won a championship, has probably done something. If I spend it on a college player, he's won a game. He's done something offensively. They've competed. These kids, these international kids, don't even play games. They just work out. So you're signing a 15-year-old for $2 million, $3 million, $4 million, whatever it is, and he's never really played baseball. He doesn't know how to run the bases. Robert Poisson showed up, having gotten $5.1 million. Whether his handlers got it, I don't know who got it. That's not my deal. All I know is he doesn't know how to play baseball because they don't play. They got to clean this system up. And if you go, well, now they're just going to go play soccer. Well, then you know what? We'll go somewhere else and find players.
Poisson hit 185 in Stockton this year in 55 games. 185, 2 home runs, 18 runs driven in. Then he played for the in the rookie league. He hit 260 there.
And you know what? He still could be great. He's just 19 years old. He's just 19. But he's having to learn how to just play the game. A guy got $5.1 million who literally doesn't know how to do basic fundamentals. Not his fault, but this is the stuff you get when you sign these international guys. Am I wrong?
No, none of them. I mean, we're not around them all the time, but we're seeing it with firsthand with Robert Poisson.
It's what people tell us. It's like you're signing. You're signing. It's purely signing potential, and you know,
I remember.
Would it be better just from a standpoint of the teams? Would it be better to say, "Hey, this is the draft, and because where you get slotted is what you're going to get paid." So there's going to be no random $5.1 million for a guy anymore.
Back in the day when I lived in Pittsburgh, the Pirates signed a 16-year-old kid named Luis Heredia, who was going to be like the next big thing. As
I
pitcher.
remember him.
They gave him $2.6 million.
I remember when that signing went, I couldn't sleep.
They cut him 7 years later because he couldn't pitch. He was terrible, and I don't even think he plays baseball anymore. But I remember this when that happened. Now we're looking at a guy that made almost double than what Heredia did, and Wartos trying to teach him how to play the game the right way. And he's now 20 years old. Where the guy that went number 1 that year, Jason Dominguez, is doing pretty well for the Yankees. So you're right. You're signing talent more than anything because you don't know.
You don't know. I'd rather draft him. Sorry, and I know. I mean, and if that helps get rid of all the handlers and the uncle and the trainer and that, I mean, I don't know how to deal with that. I really don't. But it shows you how fishy things are in the international market. It's really fishy. I would like to see a more clean system. I don't know how that works, but I don't know. Quickly, Because we got who do we got coming up?
Danny Vietti from CBS Sports. We've had him on before.
Yeah. Okay. From the article, the 5 things we've learned from this year's postseason. Once again, number 5 is Astros are really good. Thanks.
Yeah.
Number 4, Yankees have serious work to do. Once again, thanks. Number 1, Bryce Harper is growing his case for Cooperstown. We've already talked about that. Let's do 2 and 3. Number 3, PitchCom works. The average time of a Major League Baseball game went from 3 hours and 10 minutes to 2021 to 3 hours and 3 minutes. And it's the first year time has dropped in a long time. Now, you might say, that's not that much. You might say that. But how about for the average 9-inning game? The average 9-inning game in the postseason has dropped dramatically. 337 to 321.
16 minutes.
So now we put a pitch clock on you. We literally could see from 2021 to 2023 a drop of well more than a half hour in these postseason games.
Oh, well, easily. And I believe I tried asking a clarification. It sounds like, yes, these rules will be in place in the postseason. Unlike the Ghost Runner.
If we start seeing postseason games under 3 hours on a consistent basis, that's a win for baseball. Good, crisp, hard baseball, 2 hours, 45, 50 minutes. Boom, we're out of here. No more 340. I mean, it's basically 340. I think it'll be great for the game.
How long was that Astros? That Astros Mariners game was like 6 hours and 22 minutes.
It's an outlier because it's extra innings. And
they played 2 full games essentially.
Oh, we love our extra inning games. Oh, how great it is. Okay. But we're going to go back to faster baseball. And I'm telling you right now, it's good for the game. PitchCom works. So that's something we've learned from postseason. And wouldn't it be better, too, now that these games are going faster, and if they go a lot faster next year, that you spend under 3 hours watching a game, then you have time in between that and the next game. You know, we're having 4 games a day, and they all start overlapping. You won't have that.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. The pitch clock for sure I'm looking forward to next year.
Number 2, and the most important, and this is where I would say, folks, if there's anything that I could suggest to the A's to pay attention to, and they're going to tell me no, but number 2 is starting pitching is not dead. And they start throwing out Wheeler, Musgrove, Bieber, Castillo. You start looking at last year's teams versus this year's teams in the World Series. Last year, the 2021 Astros starting pitchers had 64 2/3 innings in the postseason. Relief had 82. 2021 Braves, 58 starting innings, relief pitching 75 1/3. So both the Astros and the Braves last year got more innings out of their relievers than starters. You know where it is this year? And this is where that 18-inning game really plays. But Phillies this year, 54 2/3 innings pitched for their starters, just 42 1/3 by their relievers. Far more from their starters. Astros, 39 innings started by their starting pitchers, 33 relief innings. Remember all those relief innings from one game.
Yeah, they had what, 12 in that game.
So, no doubt, starters are even better this year in the postseason. Last year they had a 4.55 ERA. This year, 3.85.
I think the number this year is there's already been 11 guys go 7 or more innings. Last year there's 4. Two of the times it happened was Logan Webb in the first round when the Giants lost.
I'm not understanding anymore now that we've had the obsession with bullpens and getting more out of our bullpens and watching it start to fail, why people want to hold on to that and not say, you know what, maybe just maybe get more. I'm not asking for complete games. I'm just saying getting that other inning from your starter really benefits your entire pitching staff. It's starting to be proven more and more.
Yeah, we've seen it already this postseason for sure. And one guy you mentioned Wheeler and Musgrove and Bieber and Castillo. Framber Valdez has been awesome for that. I mean, he was last year too.
How about Urquidy? Hasn't even pitched.
Yeah, and
Luis hasn't even pitched.
Garcia's pitched in relief.
Where would Urquidy be in our rotation?
Probably borderline number one.
About you have to think about that.
Probably number one.
He hasn't even pitched for them.
Garcia's barely pitched either. He's been out of the bullpen.
So
it's been McCullers and it's been Framber Valdez and Christian Javier. Look how good he pitched against the Yankees. He's made one start.
Starting pitching, man. Look what happens when you got starting pitching and you have an abundance of it versus very little starting pitching and an abundance of bullpen guys. Who would you rather look like? And I know this is an easy answer, but you want to look like the Dodgers? You want to look like the Rays? Or do you want to look like the Astros right now? I mean, I know it's easy to say those teams are gone and this team's still going on, but they look a lot stronger as a team. The fact that their starting pitching looks strong and they can take starters that they're not even using and putting those starters in the bullpen to already go along with good bullpen arms.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure Shane McClanahan pitched deeper into a game than any Dodgers pitcher did, I think, this postseason. I think. McClanahan won 6+ in one of his starts, which is really unheard of.
A Dodger pitcher didn't even go 6.
Yeah, it was all 5 innings. Arias and Kershaw and Tyler Anderson, they all went 5.
I'm hoping people are watching. I'm hoping they're understanding. Yeah, this game gets a lot easier and you can be a lot better when you got good starting pitching. I'm not going back to 300 innings. Hell, I may even meet you part way saying, okay, we don't have to have 200 innings. I'd like to have one guy with 200 innings. Would you at least give me that?
How many guys would end up having 200 innings? It's gone up, though. I mean, I said there wasn't even any, and we had multiple guys do it. I mean, Adam Wainwright almost did it again, and he's 41.
Well, he was retiring.
Well,
So
we thought he was.
You had to get as much out of him because he was retiring. But I'm just hoping that we see some trends because, the A's went through 64 players last year. How many of them were bullpen guys?
Let's take a look.
Well, we got to go to a break here, but.
Yeah, I'll look it up during the break. We still have to play your Yankees audio later, too.
Oh, yeah. He finally found. We're busting that out Friday at the Chicken Pie Shop. Don't forget, we got a watch party this Friday, Chicken Pie Shop, Walnut Creek. We're going to be doing the show from 1 to 5. Then they're watching the game after that, game 1, between the Astros and the Phillies. Coming up next, we got Danny Vietti. Is that what we have next?
Yep.
Joining us from CBS Sports. And what's his podcast?
Wake and Rake with Will Middlebrooks, the former Red Sox.
That Red Sox honk?
Yeah, there we go.
Next, right here on A's Cast Live.
Just because the season is over for the green and gold doesn't mean you can't enjoy watching the World Series with us. Don't miss out on partying at the Chicken Pie Shop, 1251 Arroyo Way in Walnut Creek, Friday, October 28th for an A's Cast World Series watch party with Chris Townsend, Eno Saris, Glenn Kuiper, Biff Roberts, Shooty Babbitt, Last Dive Bar, and more. The show starts at 1 p.m. with live guests throughout until 5 p.m. That's the Chicken Pie Shop, 1251 Arroyo Way in Walnut Creek. That's 1251 Arroyo Way in Walnut Creek.
Oakland Athletics spring training is right around the corner, and you can be part of the excitement. Get your tickets now and plan ahead for a fun-filled trip to Mesa, Arizona this spring. Pack the sunscreen, bring your friends, pick up some ballpark classics, and watch your green and gold get ready for the regular season. Get your tickets today to see the Athletics take on the Giants, Padres, Cubs, Dodgers, and more. Tickets are on sale now at athletics.com/spring. That's athletics.com/spring.
The Coliseum has gone by many names, but none better than the Last Dive Bar. Hi, everyone. Ken Korak here, and my friends at Last Dive Bar are helping us celebrate our longtime home. Last Dive Bar has the most unique merchandise for all Oakland baseball fans. T-shirts, sweatshirts, the Ray Fosse line, and my personal favorite, the lights have taken full effect. Visit their website at lastdivebar.com or follow them on social media at Last Dive Bar. All proceeds are invested back into the A's Community Fund and their affiliated charities. Go to lastdivebar.com. That's lastdivebar.com.
Humanity has accomplished a whole lot so far. We created penicillin, the automobile, and the internet, not to mention drones, duct tape, and the hot dog. It's all thanks to the power of human connections. And Ring Central's here to make that even easier, more seamlessly and securely, on a platform built to grow your business. Say hello to a whole new way to say hello. Visit ringcentral.com and say hello to possibilities. Ring Central. Message, video, phone, together.
Martin Gallegos of MLB.com stopped by A's Cast Live and laid out the plan to build the next core of players for the A's.
In terms of getting more competitive towards next year, you hope that, some of these guys who got called up this year, like Shea Langoliers, Nick Allen, Jordan Diaz, some of these guys, take that next step next year, have their full year under their belt. And along with, other guys like Tyler Soderstrom and Zach Geloff finish the year at AAA, you hope that those guys can come up at some point, whether it's, the second half, and kind of start, building something here, a core group of guys like we saw, a few years back with Chapman, Olsen, Pinder, all these guys that came up. See these guys, who have won together in the minors kind of start to mesh at the big league level. And if you can kind of develop that core next year, I think that's what it's all about for next year. Taking a step forward, being more competitive, winning more games in this year, but more importantly, I think finding that core group of players, core group of young guys, out of those prospects that you have down there, and hope that some of them evolve into, players who you can count on for the next few years to lead that next, playoff group here in Oakland.
To listen to the full interview and much more, go to athletics.com/A'sCast.
Coming in at 5'3", it's number one mom. She switched to Xfinity and got the all-new 3-for-1 bundle. Unlimited internet, streaming, and Xfinity Mobile. All for what you could pay wireless companies for just one 5G unlimited line. Boom shakalaka. Go to Xfinity.com/3-for-1, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit an Xfinity store today. Limited time offer. Restrictions apply. Xfinity Mobile requires post-pay Xfinity internet. After 24 months, regular rates apply to all services and devices.
A's Cast Live continues from the town. Here's Chris Townsend.
You know what Verlander's career record is in the World Series?
I'll say 3-1.
0-6 with a 5.68 ERA in 7 starts.
That's not good.
Well, in the postseason, he's dominated us.
Well, if you take away his numbers against the A's, he's like
A's and Yankees.
He has an ERA over like 4.
Yes, it's unbelievable. Do we have Danny?
We do now.
Danny, how you doing? Welcome to A's Cast Live.
What's happening, guys?
Yeah, it's so funny. You think of the brilliance of Verlander, and obviously we've seen it and experienced it in 2012 and 2013. Verlander just incredible. But you take his postseason A's numbers out and his postseason Yankees numbers out, and it's kind of shocking that they're really not that good. I'm shocked by that. How about you?
It's funny. Coming into this postseason, everybody expected, 1, the Dodgers, 2, the Astros to make a deep playoff run. It just so happened that Verlander and Kershaw were approaching the all-time postseason strikeout leader mark. Verlander was able to reach it because they were able to get deeper into the playoffs. Kershaw, his season and the Dodgers season ended a bit abruptly. But it's kind of funny, Kershaw and Verlander, similarly, Hall of Fame careers, arguably the best pitchers of their generation, along with a guy like Max Scherzer. But two guys that have really struggled in the postseason. That's something that I don't think anybody's really been able to figure out. That just doesn't make sense to anybody in the baseball world.
Yeah, but he just didn't struggle against us in Game 5 in 2012 and 13. He brought his A game both times, and you look back at how good our teams were, and so were the Tigers. Both of them were fantastic teams, but those back-to-back years just couldn't get past them, and, the rest is history. When we're looking at this World Series, the only thing I can envision the Astros winning it. Obviously, they're the favorite. I can envision the Phillies winning it. I can see this going a lot of different ways. The only way I don't see this happening is the Astros going out in 4 or 5 games. Other than that, I think everything's in play. What do you think?
By the way, alluding to your earlier point, I was in the Coliseum for Tigers A's back in, I think it was 2012. Coco Crisp made that catch up ball to Rob Prince Fielder. Nothing better than a game at the Coliseum with that.
Remember it was rocking and how loud it was? It was like a Raider game.
I was, I believe, a sophomore or junior in high school at the time. It was my first ever Major League Baseball playoff game. I was pumped. My dad was able to get tickets for us. I don't think to this day I've ever been in an environment that was louder than the Coliseum that night. It was absolute bonkers.
Where are you from?
Northern California, Redding, California.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Where are you now?
Sacramento.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so you're still in the neighborhood?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, my home base is out there in Manhattan, but we have an office just outside here in El Dorado Hills, just outside of Sacramento.
Yeah, we've been repping Sac today. We had Larry Bowa on, who's from Sacramento. We were talking about Dusty Baker. So, yeah, for a lot of people, Dusty Baker, great ties to Sacramento. And as much as we hate him, I cannot love Dusty. I cannot root for the Astros being an A's guy. But a lot of people in Northern California kind of putting that old Astros bias away because of the love for Dusty Baker and being a Northern California guy.
Yeah, I think we could all sit up here and predict what's going to happen in the World Series, but let's be real. Nobody knows. I mean, we could break down what the stats show, what the splits are. Nobody predicted the 6-seeded Phillies, who finished 3rd place in the division. They had Bryce Harper out for 2 months with a broken thumb. Nobody predicted them to get this far. No chance. Now, the Astros, here's what I question when it comes to Houston. And I'm trying to look at how the interleague stats match up. And that when I jumped on to join you guys, I was actually in the middle of doing this research. What I want to know is the American League just soft this year? Because the Astros just glided through the American League side of the bracket, through the Yankees. The Yankees were supposedly supposed to be the biggest competitor to the Astros come postseason time. The Yankees look like trash, frankly. I mean, in every department, hitting wise, pitching wise, defensively, the Yankees look completely outmatched in the Bronx too for 2 games. So my question is the American League just down this year? Because we saw that Mets, Dodgers, Braves, now Phillies, Padres, the National League was evidently stacked. Is the American League just soft? And I don't have an answer yet. I'm still kind of doing my research here, but that's kind of a question that I'm going into the World Series with.
That's an interesting way to look at it. All right, so let's look at the teams. Obviously, Seattle doesn't scare me. Like, Seattle's a team we get to see a lot of. Seattle's not a team that really scares me. The Blue Jays have firepower, but you don't know which Blue Jay team you're getting. I'm trying to go here with you on the soft. Minnesota soft. Look how everybody thought Chicago was the team to beat. Chicago was going to steamroll the Central. Could represent the American League in the World Series. No, they were not good at all. Rays are always going to be tough. The Rays are a lot like the A's when we're going good. The matchups and everything that they bring at you, they're smart. But who are the Rays in the end? Yeah, I mean, you might be able – I'd be very interested. Are you going to put a piece out? I'd be very interested to either listen to it or read it. Was just the American League not that good? Because I've been talking about it. I went back to my MLB notes, my MLB network notes. When the A's, when we were in New York at the end of June, they were crowning them champs. One of the greatest teams of all time, on pace to win 119 games. They were, at that time, had like 55 home runs in June, the most ever in June. They were sizing these guys up for rings, and we see them get bounced the way they did. You might be onto something.
I promise you, I'll send over whatever numbers I come up with. I will send it over to you and Cody to kind of look at what we're dealing with here. And the Yankees, since I believe it's July 9th, if you include their postseason record, they were 8 games under 500 this year since that date. Ooh. So yeah, you could make the case the Yankees were the best team in the world up until July. After that, they were legitimately not a playoff team, not even a winning team. Now you're going to have Aaron Judge hitting free agency. Have a lot of question marks with guys like Anthony Rizzo. They have a lot of money locked up into guys like Garrett Cole. It's the Yankees. They're going to spend money. There's no doubt about that. But are they going to be able to afford Aaron Judge? And how willing is Aaron Judge? How willing is he to stay in New York, considering he has an opportunity to go back home to Northern California, where he was born and raised? San Francisco, I think, has been kind of hanging in the dark for years in free agency, a team who has Cueto's contract off the books, Posey's contract off the books. This last off season, the only guys they spent any money on was Jock Peterson, Carlos Rodon, to short one-year deals. They have a lot of money to spend in that Giants front office. So the Yankees have a lot of question marks. Aaron Judge is going to be at the conversation of it all.
Make a case for me how the Phillies win.
Short series. So it's going to be game 1, Verlander versus Nola. And I actually picked the Phillies to advance past the Cardinals in the wild card round for that same reason. I think the Phillies match up really well in a 3, 4, 5 game series because they're very top heavy. Aaron Nola, Zach Wheeler, and Suarez, very solid 1, 2, 3 punch. After that, it's question marks with guys like Noah Syndergaard. They went with a bullpen game against San Diego. I think that was game 4, and they got mashed around. So when you get past those top 2, 3 starters for Philly, it's questionable. You look at their bullpen. Sir Anthony Dominguez is very, very solid. You look at Jose Alvarado, their left-handed specialist, very solid. You look at their closer, David Robertson, very solid. After those 3 guys, again, you kind of put that question mark over some of these heads. I think lineup-wise, they stack up as good as anybody does, including Houston, who has a 1 through 9 great lineup. But when you're talking pitching-wise, I think Philadelphia needs to shorten the series because they're very top-heavy.
So when you say quick series, are you saying like in 5?
If they want any shot at all. Because Houston, this is a great stat for you. So every pitcher for the Houston Astros this year that actually played significant time had an ERA under 4. That includes all their bullpen pitchers and starting pitchers. So they have so much depth out there in Houston. Philadelphia doesn't have that same luxury. So if Philadelphia wants a chance, they're going to need to dominate when Wheeler and Nola are on the mound. Because Houston likely, when they send out McCullers and Christian Javier, they have the starting rotation depth that Philly does not have. So you have to give the benefit of the doubt to Houston, games 4 and 5, depending on how they match up their starting rotations. So if Philly wants a chance, they have to dominate and take advantage when they have Nola and Wheeler and potentially Suarez on the mound as well.
You think about getting 1 game in Houston. They have the ability to do that. Is there any advantage? It's hard to say there's any advantage over the Astros. They're such a good team. Is there an advantage getting back to Philadelphia? The bank's rocking. It's going to be really cold. It's a whole different environment without that roof over your head. So if they can get 1, what do you think the advantage is once they head back to the East Coast?
Weather is going to play a part. There's no doubt about that. Now, Houston obviously has the roof, so that's not going to really play a factor. It's really just going to come down to matchups, I think. And one specific guy that I'm really looking forward to seeing how they fare is Hector Neris against Bryce Harper and Kyle Schwarber. The interesting thing about Houston is they don't really have a left-handed specialist in the bullpen. In years past, Javier Lopez, Alvarez for the Phillies, you typically have a left-handed specialist to pitch against your top left-handed hitters come postseason time. Houston doesn't have that. With that being said, they have a guy named Hector Neris, a former Philadelphia Philly. When you look at his splits against Schwarber and Harper, those 2 guys combined against Hector Neris, 0 for 10 with 3 strikeouts. So they don't have a left-handed specialist, but they have a guy with a dominant splitter, which is his dominant pitch. And he's the guy that can get left-handed hitters out. So that's one matchup that I'm really looking forward to seeing how Harper can adjust, how Schwarber can adjust. Because it's rare to see a team get this far in the playoffs without a left-handed specialist, but they have Hector Neris, who is able to get out left-handed hitters at a very high clip.
Well, speaking of Harper, it's just better for our game. It's better viewing when the stars come to play. When it's the big boys that are making it happen, and we've seen that a lot this postseason, and it's been a lot of fun to watch Bryce Harper and the way he's led Philly. I mean, it's like a 12-year-old kid out there in Williamsport at the Little League World Series.
Well, it's funny you mention that because I think all of us have had our eyes on Harper since he was about 12 years old, right? I mean, he was on TV throwing 80 miles an hour as a 13-year-old kid, which is ridiculous. He was 6'1" at 12 years old. We did a recording of the Wake and Rake podcast that I have with Will Middlebrooks. He used to play for the Red Sox.
Yeah.
He was telling me a story. They had an Arizona Fall League team. It was Mike Trout, Bryce Harper, Brandon Crawford, Joe Panik, and Middlebrooks were all on the same Arizona Fall League team. Ninth inning, stacked, ridiculously stacked. Ninth inning comes around. Bryce Harper at this point, and keep in mind, Harper's 18, 19 years old. He's a kid. Harper's hitting about $120 in the Arizona Fall League so far. All of a sudden, the ninth inning comes up. They're down 1. Harper looks to the dugout and tells the guys, look, I'm taking this guy deep. If somebody gets on base, I'm taking this guy deep, and I'm gonna end the ball game for us here. Basically, the entire bench was like, yeah, okay, Hart, sure, man. You're hitting about $120. You haven't even made contact in about a week and a half. Sure enough, Derek Norris, former Oakland A, was able to get on base with a walk. First pitch, Harper belts one to center field, deep dead central, and walks it off for the Arizona Fall League team. And as Will put it pretty clearly to me, he said they all knew Harper was cocky, but he always backed it up.
Yeah, and you got to think this is a kid that left high school early to go to a junior college so he could be the number 1 pick in the draft. And I mentioned earlier today, and I know basketball fans will say I'm crazy, but he's like a smaller version of LeBron James, right? He was on Sports Illustrated in high school. He's been the chosen one for so long. Terrific careers. Obviously, LeBron's older, but they've lived like that really good life as a star. They've stayed out of trouble. They help a lot of people. They have the charities. They've done everything the right way. I guess Bryce Harper would be our version of LeBron James for the NBA.
No doubt. I'm just trying to think back to some of the biggest debuts, at least in my lifetime. Steven Strasburg, who was Harper's teammate, comes to mind. I mean, his debut was as highly anticipated as anybody I can think of. There's some other, I mean, even Mike Trout, when he was coming up, I don't think really got the publicity as much as Harper did, not at that age. It's interesting too, now that I'm just kind of thinking about it, and that this might appeal to some Northern California fans as well, is if the Phillies do go on to win the championship, yes, Harper winning the chip would be amazing. By the way, Bryce Harper grew up in Las Vegas. He grew up an Oakland A's fan. Side point. Second point is that Mark Appel actually was able to pitch an inning this year for the Philadelphia Phillies. Yeah. Remarkable story. Former number 1 overall pick, left baseball completely. He used to pitch at Stanford University, which is why I mentioned Northern California. If the Phillies do end up hoisting the trophy, Mark Appel would actually get a championship ring after leaving baseball completely. What a story that would be. I mean, it's a story for Harper, absolutely, but kind of hanging in the dark is that Mark Appel story. If he's able to get a ring, that would be remarkable.
Is there really anybody outside of Texas rooting for the Astros? I think everybody's got to be. Nobody's going to like them anytime soon. Whether I know a lot of the players from 2017 are no longer there, but some of the core guys are still there. But is anybody in baseball who's a baseball fan rooting for the Houston Astros outside of Texas?
I can only speak to my followings and my readers. From the national media side, I don't think the majority is definitely rooting Philly. There's no doubt about that. I think most baseball fans respect Houston, regardless of the sign stealing scandal, because since 2017, they've been able to make an ALCS just about every single year. And I think they've made 3 World Series or something like that since 2017. You have to hate them, but you also know that they just keep winning ball games, right? So I think it's a matter of they don't want them to win necessarily, but I think they've proved to themselves and to the fans that clearly they didn't need the sign stealing to be able to win ball games.
When we start heading to the off season, we think about the winter meetings. We'll be there in San Diego, hopefully some big deals and a lot of action going down. I know right now everything is really looking at Aaron Judge. A lot of talk about the Giants. I'll believe he's leaving New York when he leaves New York. I think it's really hard to think that you can have that monument out there in Monument Park next to Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, Joe DiMaggio, Mickey Mantle, Derek Jeter. You're going to leave that? Okay. But what do you expect when you start thinking about the big things that we could see, big plays? I know they're saying Aaron Boone's set, Dave Roberts set. I don't know if I buy all of that. We'll see. I mean, we'll see what happens as we start to get out of the season and people start making moves. But what do you think the big action is going to be? What are you expecting?
Shortstop position is very intriguing to me. Trey Turner, in my opinion, still doesn't get the attention that he deserves. A five-tool player that might not look like a five-tool player. The impact that he had on the Dodgers this season was second to none. And that's considering the fact that they still had Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman. What Trey Turner is able to do on the bases with the bat, with the glove, I think he's one of the best players in all of baseball, top 15, top 10 player. Carlos Correa opted out of his contract. That's going to be interesting. Anthony Rizzo, the first base position in particular, is interesting as well. Jose Abreu, Anthony Rizzo, Josh Bell, also a free agent. You mentioned Aaron Judge out in the outfield. Starting pitching-wise, Clayton Kershaw will be a free agent. Justin Verlander is likely to opt out of his player option. Obviously, the likelihood of him leaving Houston after the season he just had is small. But there's some big tickets on the docket. We saw the noise that the Texas Rangers made this last offseason. A lot of people question that. A lot of people question, why is Texas going out and spending $400 million on Marcus Semien, Corey Seager, and John Gray when they're not ready to compete? I looked at Texas, and I think most people understood that they weren't trying to compete for 2022. They're trying to compete for 23, 24, and beyond. They're going to have money to spend. They just hired Bruce Bochy as their new manager. They're going to be looking to make more splashes. Clayton Kershaw, a Texas kid, does he go back home to the Texas Rangers? I think that could be one of the biggest storylines heading into the offseason is what Texas is able to do in free agency.
I like the name. I think it'd be really interesting for him to go join Bruce Bochy and, as you said, go back home. But do I really like the move all that much? I like the name. I like the move. I like the juice. I like it for trying to sell tickets. But for a full season, what am I really expecting from Clayton Kershaw, especially a move to the American League?
No doubt. That's a fair question. I think Kershaw proved this year that he's still a dominant pitcher, a guy at the All-Star break that started the All-Star game. Come postseason time, I think there were questions about his health. In the last 2-3 years, he's dealt with back issues as well. Those questions remain. That's not going to turn around a franchise, a one-year deal for Clayton Kershaw. I agree with you. It's more of a storyline as opposed to an impact move. With that being said, I just really look at Chris Young and that Texas Rangers front office. I think they're going to be looking to make a splash. If it's not starting pitching, I could see them try and bolster their lineup even more because here we are. Houston's in the World Series, and I think everybody's been trying to talk Houston down for years. I think people have been trying to write off Houston because we're tired of seeing him. Maybe Texas has a chance to try and make some moves this offseason to try and topple the ever great Houston Astros. I guess we'll wait and see.
Maybe Clayton Kershaw comes to the American League, dominates because the American League is soft.
Hey, now we're coming full circle. Now we're coming full circle right now, Chris.
Clayton Kershaw wins 22 games and is absolutely dominant because the AL West, because he beats how many times would he beat us? He beats us like 5 times. You think about it, how soft, all of a sudden Mike Trout's hurt, Shohei Ohtani, he doesn't play as much as it. That's another one right there, Ohtani. We have kind of broke it down, and I know we look like jackasses whenever we don't bow to Shohei Ohtani, but it's like you need a 6-man rotation. How many teams have Shohei Ohtani and 5 other starters? And he never plays in the field, so he's he gives you 4 at-bats. Yes, he's fantastic, but there's some things with this whole Ben Verlander that Ohtani's the greatest thing we've ever seen. And we look back and go, for a guy that's got to be your everyday big-time player, the volume that he doesn't give you, it's kind of interesting when you look at, okay, he's super valuable for making cash. He's going to make you so much money on the international market and sponsor. He's worth every penny you give him. From a monetary standpoint, incredible. But saying that he's two players in one, I don't think tells the whole story.
No doubt, money-wise, he makes franchises a whole lot of money. I was at his last start against Oakland, against it was Waldachuk on the mound.
Yeah, last game of the year.
Yes, and I recorded, and this isn't an indictment on A's fans by any means. This happens in every ballpark. Ohtani had his paparazzi over in the bullpen, and as he went back into the dugout for his at-bats, they would just kind of follow him, like I said, like a paparazzi. Meanwhile, poor Waldachuk's over there in his home bullpen, and he's got like 3 fans over there waiting for a Waldachuk autograph. The appeal factor, the money factor is there. I think to your point, I'm not going to diminish what Ohtani's performance is on the mound or with the bat. I will say that we've never seen a player be able to accomplish those feats on the mound and with the bat for that long of a duration ever. And so I think front offices, as he approaches free agency after next season, and the Angels are supposedly selling their team, so maybe he's going to be available in the market this offseason. I think the biggest question for front offices is how long can he keep this up? Because the last 2 seasons, in my opinion, have been one of, if not the best single seasons in MLB history, at least up there with the greats. How is he able to sustain this? And I think front offices will have those same question marks. So he's going to demand a whole lot of money because he should, because the way that he's played and the international appeal. But is he able to sustain this? And it's not an indictment on him either. That's just a question of we've never seen it before. If anybody can do it, it's probably Shohei Ohtani, but that's a question that remains.
You know what? I didn't know you're up in SAC. So, like, we do this show from the field. We're the only show in Major League Baseball from the field. You got to let us know next time you're in town during the season. We got to have you on the set.
Tell me when and where. I'm there, baby. I'm there. I'm always down to hit up the Coliseum. That's my crew right there.
Well, I got to tell you, you're fantastic, and let's do this more often.
Appreciate it, guys. Always a good time jumping on.
Quickly, World Series, you're going with who?
Stros in 7, baby. Let's just have a good series. That's all I want. Let's go the distance. Stros in 7.
And promote the podcast one more time.
Wake and Rake podcast with me and Will Middlebrooks. New episode out with the World Series preview. Follow us at Wake and Rake Pod.
Money. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Good stuff. I didn't realize you just think all these guys are New York.
Yeah, I forgot that he was local-ish. But yeah.
Wow. Our great friends of Sacramento are now ish to you?
Well, I mean, it's not Bay Area.
You were just like, wow.
Yeah, he the Ohtani factor. I saw a tweet yesterday. It was pretty funny. I was going to send it to you, and I figured, you know what? I'll just tell you in person. Someone had a tweet. The Angels sign Aaron Judge, trade Joe Adell, and rework a deal to keep Shohei Ohtani, and they still lose 90 bleeping games next year.
Okay, wait. Joe Adell stinks.
So they trade Adell.
Okay.
They sign Aaron Judge as a free agent. And then
they sign Aaron Judge.
And they rework Ohtani's deal to keep him long term, and they still lose 90 bleeping games next year.
So you have an outfield of Judge, Trout, and DH is Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah, who would be their other outfielder? Who's in their outfield this year? Oh, Adell, I guess, yeah, because they traded Marsh. Oh, and they have Mickey Moniak, the former number 1 they got in the deal for Marsh. He'll probably be in their outfield next year. But you have those 3 guys. Oh, and Rendon.
Okay, so I know we look terrible when we talk about this, but it's like, folks, once again, what we see from Shohei Ohtani is great numbers when all the pressure's gone. And guys like Eno Saris, our guy, will come in and say, well, you can't, there's no metric for when pressure's on, when it's not on. There's a small sample size. They'll give you all that. But you know what? It's just, all of a sudden he stunk when they lost 14 straight games. He stunk as a hitter and stunk as a pitcher. That's fact. We've proven that.
Hit 192 and was 0-2 with a 9 ERA.
So when the team was already done and his manager was fired in the second half, now he's hell on wheels. This is the best you're ever going to get. After that, you're going to buy high. This is like kind of like Aaron Judge. You're going to buy super high, and at some point he's not going to give you the numbers. But you've got to remember, he can't throw once every 5 days. You need a 6-man rotation. That means you need Ohtani and 5 other guys. You need 6 starters, folks. How many teams have 6 starters? And then he never plays the field. So in a 9-inning game, he hits 4 times. So basically he participates in only 2 innings. That's 7 innings. He does nothing every day if he's not pitching. He's sitting on the bench, chewing sunflower seeds, drinking Gatorade.
Hey, looking at the iPad maybe. Looking at his at-bats, but that's not for 7 innings.
I mean, that's why we always said a DH can't be MVP. They don't do enough. They don't participate enough in the games, right? That's why a DH has never won the MVP. And just recently, we started saying, okay, we like Big Papi, we like Edgar, we'll put him in the Hall of Fame.
No, they're only 2. They're the only 2 that are in.
Well, I mean, guys had long career. Paul Molitor had a long career as a DA, but he first was truly a infielder.
Yeah, like Ortiz and Edgar. I mean,
Ortiz has been a DH. He was a butcher as a first baseman.
He was a really bad first baseman defensively.
Oh, yeah, and he was a first baseman who couldn't hit either.
Yeah, with a different name.
Yeah. But all of a sudden, he's just started hitting, and then, who's going to.
But before we go.
Oh, speaking of Red Sox, I don't know. We'll probably have to get to this later on, but talking to Joon Lee earlier, what we have said about the Red Sox, about not acting like the Red Sox, acting more like the Rays, is finally catching up to them. Like Chaim Bloom, Dave Dombrowski, who's in the World Series now as a president of baseball operations for the Phillies. He's led 4 teams out of the World Series. He won the World Series and the next year was fired. Chaim Bloom's entering his 4th year. How much room does Chaim Bloom get? All this talk about what the Red Sox could do. Let's not forget, they still got to deal with Yankees, Rays, Blue Jays. Blue Jays are going to be better. The Blue Jays will be better. The Rays are still going to do Rays things. Who's to think just because the Red Sox open up a little bit of the checkbook that all of a sudden now they're hell on wheels?
Yeah, it hasn't helped them all the time when they've done that. How'd that Adrian Gonzalez deal work out? And when they signed Kimbrel and all those guys.
Okay, well, how's it working out that you're saving money?
Yeah, it's not working out for them either now.
So you're going to charge the highest season tickets in all of baseball, the highest average per ticket in baseball. Your experience at Fenway Park is the most expensive in all of baseball. You're making huge money off your television deal. You're making all this money and you're not spending it. And I'm not saying that's because of ownership. That's not what he wants to do. Chaim Bloom, the guy who's running the Red Sox, is this new era of front office that winning the World Series isn't everything to them. What's everything to them is building a sustainable long-term organization where you got minor leaguers coming up and guys that get expensive move on and you bring minor leaguers in. And that's what they care more about than going out and winning a championship. He has not shown any hurry in a city that's used to football winning, baseball winning, basketball winning, and hockey winning. He's like taking over the Red Sox and he's running them like the Rays. And I just don't know how that's working. Doesn't seem to be working real well.
It's not. And they got big decisions to make with Devers and Bogarts this year for sure. Like, they're going to lose Martinez and possibly Eovaldi and take those contracts off the book. But you're going to have to go out and sign someone. You can't just rely on how'd that Mookie Betts trade work out? Because Jeter Downs really hasn't done much. The big guy you got back in that deal. And Alex Verdugo's been an okay player for them. But Mookie Betts, what's he done with the Dodgers since then?
Well, here is another thing. Here's another thing. Who wants to sign there? Like this culture that they once had, and boy, do we have to hear about how great it was on FS1 after the games, because all they do, because Big Poppy really didn't say anything. And do you find him that funny?
I really don't watch the Fox postgame show, but when I do, no.
All you're going to hear about is how great the Red Sox were. And it's going to be the same thing on TBS with Pedro. All they talk, Red Sox, Red. Okay.
But Pedro at least will say something every once in a while.
Oh, who's your daddy? Who's your dad? I mean, that's just having Bob Costas say to Pedro Martinez, who's your daddy? It's just like, what am I watching?
But I like Granderson and Rollins, though. I think they're good.
I think Jimmy Rollins is fantastic.
I think Granderson's good, too.
Granderson's okay.
But yeah, I'm with you about Rollins.
I think J-Roll could be really good.
Him and Correa doing a podcast together, that'd be great. 2 shortstops. Both one former Dodger, one. Yeah, I'm saying it. Future Dodger, Carlos Correa.
I'm just you could give Jimmy Rollins, because he's been an MVP, he's been a World Series champion. You could give him a bigger role. He's good. I think he's really good.
I just want to make sure that he was a Dodger. Yeah, he was. Just making sure I was right.
Because he left Philly and he went there. But yeah, I mean, you're the Red Sox. You're one of the big boys on the block. Like what the Giants are saying right now, that, hey, no one's going to outbid us for Aaron Judge. Trying to say Aaron Judge wouldn't look good pounding off the green monster? Like, where are you? Like, what happened to the Boston Red Sox? Boston Red Sox are operating kind of like we do. What happened to them? Where are you? That was a premier place to be. Is Boston a premier spot to be right now?
For baseball, probably not. I mean, if we're talking about other sports, Celtics, yeah. Patriots, meh.
No, Patriots stink.
And the Bruins are the Bruins. They're always going to be competitive. By the way, they had this out the other day. The teams are favorites, according to Las Vegas, on who to sign Aaron Judge. The Giants, the Mets, and the Dodgers. I don't see the Red Sox in there anywhere. Can you imagine if the Dodgers signed him? They'd have 5, including Kershaw. They'd have 5 MVPs on their team. And they've won 1 World Series. If they sign Judge. If not, they have 4 right now before Kershaw, whatever happens in free agency. Bellinger, Freeman, Betts.
I have a hard time seeing Judge sign in LA.
I still think the Mets are I love to see him play for the Mets.
Are you really going to leave New York? If he leaves New York for the Giants, he can play the hometown card. And it's not even his hometown, but he grew up in Northern California, Central Valley.
Let's say is Linden, Northern California now?
Yes, that's Central Valley.
Well, that's more Central Valley.
Okay, stay in your lane, Pittsburgh.
I don't say Philadelphia is part of the Western PA.
Not because it's on the eastern part of the state.
State College, I don't claim that.
That's in the Midwest part of the state.
That's like whatever. We're discussing.
Fresno calls themselves Northern California.
They're the Central Valley.
Oh, you live here 2 years and you think you know.
Well, actually, I'm on year 10 right now. I just hit 10 years this month.
But the fact that he can say, I'm going home, I can see that. You're going to leave the Yankees and you go to L.A.
Yeah, there's what is it? Oh, Hollywood. Or he leaves to go to the Angels.
But no, because he's got to come back to the Central Valley because his wife's mother still works in the school district in Linden or whatever the hell it is. What? Hey, if you know what, I'm telling you right. I'm telling you right now. I might go on record again.
I've been waiting to play it.
Save it for the pie shop. Save it for the pie shop in front of the folks. How long is the clip?
Minute and 8 seconds.
I
cut it down from the 20-minute
rant
you did.
Was it real? Was I pissed?
No, you were just going through the whole thing.
I tend to get a little angry when we play the Yankees and I hear all the Yankee love. Yeah, if you're telling me you're leaving New York because your wife's mom works in the school district of Linden, California, like, really? Then you know what? I'm with the Yankee fans. I don't want you anyway. You don't want to be a Yankee. You don't want the bright spotlight. You don't want to be here. Then get out.
There was a quote that came out earlier. More than one player felt it was unusually brutal experience playing at Yankee Stadium during the ALCS. That was something Joon Lee mentioned to us about the report from Andy Martino.
Then get out.
Can't handle
Then
it.
Get out. You want to go back to Linden? Get out. Go back. Go back. Go join the Wall of Fame with Robbie Thompson.
Joe Panik.
Joe Panik. Is he really on there?
I believe so.
Will Clark. That's what you want? Go right ahead. The Yankee brand will still be the Yankee brand. Who else is on that?
Hunter Pence.
Mike Krukow.
Where's the
Dwayne Kuiper? That he's got to be on there.
I need. Do they not have like an art? Like, does the Giants not have?
I don't know. You think I look up at the Giants Wall of Fame is?
You think it would be on like they have like when the first thing you Google to
You think they would have made like 18 posters of it as much as they promote themselves? That's shots fired against your Giants.
Who's Giants?
Your Giants.
All my friends are Giants fans.
We're Giant.
Forever Giant. I love that one.
Will Clark forever San Francisco.
I watched this thing. That was actually a pretty good speech, but
you're really retiring Will Clark's jersey forever. No one can wear Will Clark's jersey. Will Clark, I liked him in college. He was a good player, but
Jeff Brantley's apparently on there, and Scott
the Cowboy
and Scott Geraltz is on there.
Geraltz.
He's
Scott Geraltz.
Yep, those guys are on there. Ryan Vogelsong, Matt Cain,
Vogie and Kaner.
Okay, Cain, sure, but I mean, Vogelsong, he was okay. Or Pirate. Just see, there's nothing.
I like Jeff Brantley, the Cowboy. How did he become the Cowboy?
Did he get that at Mississippi State?
I don't know. I don't even know where Jeff Brantley. I love Jeff Brantley. We should have. You know what? Why not reach out to him? Oh, he's from Florence, Alabama. Reach out to the Cowboy. We haven't had him in a while. Oh, we haven't played the Reds in a while.
We will next year.
Now, Gaylord Perry, Jeff Kent, Orlando Cepeda,
JT Snow,
Juan Marichal,
Matt Williams,
the Boogie Bear, Kevin Mitchell was an MVP.
Brian Wilson,
B Weezy,
Rob Nen.
They put Jack Clark on there?
Yeah.
The Ripper?
Jason Schmidt. Felipe Alou, Chili Davis.
Why is Felipe
Bob
Alou?
Brenly. Rodback, the late Rodback.
Chili Davis. It's the greatness of Chili Davis as a Giant.
I thought Joe Panik was.
Fact check yourself and you're wrong. All right, we got to get out of here.
Yeah, we do. Right here. May 20th this year. Second baseman Joe Panik be honored with a plaque on the Wall of Fame outside Oracle Park.
If Joe Panik is on your Wall of Fame, you're just putting people to put in there. That's the bottom line. All right. Coming up Friday, A's Cast Live from the Chicken Pie Shop in Walnut Creek. 1 to 5 we'll do the show. Then it's a viewing party watching Game 1 of the World Series. You going to be ready?
I am. Some people let's give you a couple people that are supposed to attend. Glenn Kuiper, Bip Roberts, Shooty Babbitt, Eno Saris, David Feldman, The Last Dive Bar, Jessica Kleinschmidt. I got confirmation yesterday that our good friend, he's coming just to be there. The voice and the face of the Stockton Ports, Alex Jensen, will be there.
Who?
Who are we forgetting? And there's one other person, a guy with the initials BB, we're waiting to hear about.
All right. We'll see everybody Friday in Walnut Creek for Game 1 of the World Series. Thank you for listening to A.
Just because the season is over for the green and gold doesn't mean you can't enjoy watching the World Series with us. Don't miss out on partying at the Chicken Pie Shop, 1250